It's because you're an old man who's falling apart. You're past your prime.
I tell you though, I have been doing very good about not bending over with my back to like feed the dogs and stuff.
That's good.
I'm squatting all the way down with my knees.
Yep.
Like a proper young lad.
Yes. Good for you.
Depositing, standing, lowering my entire upper body.
There you go.
I feel like it's good for the old quads too.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wouldn't call it exercising exactly, but it's
effort.
I'm stubborn and I'm like, I refuse. I am not going to injure myself while feeding my dogs, while picking up a dog bowl. I'm not. There will be a dumb injury at some point, but I'm not that one.
If you're gonna injure yourself, it's gonna be spontaneously skipping down the hallway.
I want to injure it doing something stupid. Exactly. Like I want to say, yep, that was a dumb decision. That's my fault. I don't want to say I was doing this simple, mundane task.
I want to injure myself, pounding rebar
out
of the log.
Absolutely. That's how you do it.
That's appropriate.
That's how you do it.
My back is like perfectly fine too. Like ever since then, haven't even had a twinge of anything.
Good. Well, that means if it happens again, you'll be like, okay, I know what this is. I know it sucks at first, but it'll pass because it'll probably happen again.
I'm sure it will. I'm going to treat my body like
you're going to encounter more rebar.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe you won't. It's all gone now.
I mean, I still have all the rebar. I kept it all.
Of course you
I need
did.
To do something with it. Yep. Oh my gosh.
Gracious.
When I die, mercy on the people who have to deal with all
We're
going
to cover that today in the feedback section.
Awesome.
There was some concern.
There should be a concern. I'm concerned. Oh goodness. Oh, we're recording.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Well, then let's get to it, shall we?
Yeah.
Welcome everybody to episode number 138. Wow.
Yeah.
138 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I am Brian Goulet.
I'm Drew Brown.
And we're here from the Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show, where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company in our fountain pen lives.
What is the deal with the
put a little Jerry Seinfeld on that one. Wasn't planning on it, but in today's show, however, we are going to be talking about celebrity endorsements and product lines in the pen world? ? We're going to be talking about something else. I just read the same line over again. Our favorite pangrams to write when testing our pens. That's where you write a sentence that has every letter used in it. That's going to be fun.
That is a diagram of a pancake, a pangram.
That makes sense. I know what tangrams are because that's like a fun sort of puzzle type thing. It's like where you have different like shapes like triangles and stuff, and then you have like an outline of a bigger shape and you have to fit all the shapes within that bigger shape.
That sounds horrific.
It's like they use it for like, IQ testing and like that type of stuff.
That explains why it's horrific to me.
I like doing it though. It's fun. I'm good at tangrams, but it's not the same thing as a pangram. Maybe it's related though. Maybe it's a gram because like you're trying to fit all the letters in a sentence. I don't know. Anyway, why longer nibs are better than shorter nibs. And then subsequently, why shorter nibs are better than long nibs, because we got a question about each one. And then why no one's designed a tool to help make piston turning easier. And we're going to pontificate about that a little bit.
Maybe we'll invent one here today.
We could. Why not? And we're going to be spotlighting some popular Diamine red inks. So that'll be fun too. We're expanding the spotlight a little bit, trying to encompass some new things. So we'll take you on a journey there because we haven't thoroughly planned it out, and you'll get to see what happens. Anyway, we'll start it off with some feedback.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for the slightly delayed video pencast from last week, and B, the very delayed audio pencast from last week that you would be finding on Apple Music and Spotify and whatnot. We had a bit of a, issue with talking about these Lamy safaris. We recorded everything early, but our timelines for when we can talk about the safaris changed slightly, and we obviously always want to respect that. So we had to pivot a little bit.
Yep.
And while we were pivoting, you were missing out on the timely version of this that you're normally able to enjoy. So,
but I'm glad you care.
Yeah,
I'm glad you notice. Yeah.
But rest assured, it wasn't intentional. It's just something that we had to do so that we can continue to play by the rules. And sell you Lamy pens, of which we will talk about more later. Small Philosophies wrote in and said that this is the only podcast that I listen to on 1x speed. TGIF, and thanks again for posting. That is heavy praise. Thank you for that. If you listen to a lot of podcasts and you're moving through them quickly and choose to take your time on this whopper of a show, that says a lot, and I thank you for it.
I'm a little disappointed you're not slowing it down, actually extending it even more.
Someone actually did say, I think in response to this comment, I normally listen to it on 2x speed, and I just listen to it on 1 standard speed, and we sound drunk. So we sound drunk now on just standard speed to this person.
We've talked about this in the Pencast before. Slow something down to
but they didn't slow it down.
0.75. They're just saying because they're used to listening to 2x.
Yeah.
I feel like we talk kind of fast anyway on 2x. That would be a little tough to keep up with.
I did,
but I don't know.
But yeah, we definitely sound drunk if you slow it down.
Yeah.
And then fun. I also have decided that I need to stop joking about not knowing what the TWSBI Precision is. Because I've done this.
Are people genuinely getting concerned?
So many. We're like, Drew.
Sounds like we need to keep doing it.
You sell this pen. And I'm like, I know, I'm joking. Because it was an inside joke because I did legit forget about it.
Yeah.
So I'm poking fun of myself. But apparently...
To be fair,
people think I'm real dumb.
To be fair, we legitimately forget about plenty of things that we really should know.
I do this to Shannon all the time. Like, I will joke about not knowing something, or she'll say something. I'll be like, wait, what are we doing today? She's like, oh my God, I just told you we're doing this. I'm like, okay. But then, of course, I'll troll her and be like, what are we doing? And she's like, oh my gosh, Drew. I'm like, I'm joking. Come on. Yeah. Seriously, you just told me. But she literally believes I can forget things that quick.
Gotta keep her on her toes.
I'm like, wow, she...
Keep the bar low.
She has a very low opinion of me already.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Keep the expectations low, and then it's easier to please.
Well, a lot of our listeners think that I am just a complete buffoon, having forgot this several times. But anyway.
Sounds like we need to keep doing it.
Either that or I need to definitely stop.
This is like troll fertilizer here. This is like...
I can't believe he forgets about this all the time. I'm like, I don't, but thank you.
It's good stuff.
And then we also got a lot of comments. I'm not going to read anything specific, but you're in good company as far as people who have washed and run their fountain pen through the dryer.
Yeah,
definitely a few, and only one I think had some noticeable damage to any clothing. But most said that they ran through it multiple times and got everything out. But the consensus is that standard American, at least, home washing units are not going to be super destructive.
Yeah.
Commercial units are a different story.
Yeah, that's another beast.
And potentially some in Europe, I don't know. But yeah, you're definitely not alone. A lot of folks have washed and dried their pens in, appliances.
I think I had to read something about the dryers too, that if you're using like a commercial dryer, those run hotter.
Yeah.
Like in the 160 to 175 temperature range.
Yes, indeed.
Fahrenheit.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And then finally, Patricia Clark wrote in and said, hobbies. What about bird watching? It's not just for your grandparents anymore. And that got me thinking about two things. Number one, Patricia, not for your grandparents. I think it's a pretty common millennial thing to have adopted the houseplant hobby. I think a lot of people kind of adopted that during the pandemic, and it's definitely caught on, which is definitely a, formerly grandparent hobby, but we are most certainly embracing that, as am I.
When are you considered a bird watcher? Is there like a delineation between I'm just looking at birds?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be like several variances. There's the I'm going outside with binoculars on a trail sort of bird watcher.
Like an intentional act.
Yeah.
I'm seeking out an act of looking at birds for the sake of looking at birds.
There's that, but then there's also what I did just a few days ago, which is to buy a bird feeder, put it right in front of our French doors, and put some suet blocks in there, and buy a bird watching book so that I can identify the birds in our backyard.
Okay.
So I
feel like if you have a book about it.
I just did that. So I found a nice little field guide to birds of Virginia, and it is organized.
I think my mom has that book.
It's like yay big.
Yep.
It's wonderful. The pages are really thick. They're not paper. They're like almost like not like page paper. They're
it's more like a waterproof type
paper.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's great, and the corners of every page are color coded. So you just see a brown bird, you flick to the brown section. You see a yellow bird, there's a yellow bird section, and they're all right there on the spine. So it's a quick little. Cool. So we see a bird out there before the dogs can bark at it and scare it away. We're like, all right, brown bird. There it is. Boom. So
I
we
do-
are enjoying some casual living room centric bird watching.
Okay, so I own a pair of binoculars, like a nice pair of like Bushnell, like
All right.
50x binoculars. I have definitely used them to intentionally look at birds.
There you go.
I
You're
don't
bird
have
watcher.
a book. I don't have a book though.
Ooh, you need a book.
But I've Googled it on my phone, like specific birds that I see, and I'm like, oh, what is that?
I'll tell you, this is a pretty small book. It was like $8.99.
I know it's not.
Yeah,
It's not that I can't get a book.
you could get this book. Yeah.
So am I a birder? Am I a bird watcher? Are
I,
those different things? Is a bird watcher different than a birder? Because I've heard the term birder used.
I've heard that too.
Is that different? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like someone's gonna tell us.
We're
that.
like, yeah.
But thank you, Patricia. You are right on the money. I would actually quite enjoy going out and intentionally bird watching. I could get into that.
You know what's a fun bird to watch?
Tell me.
Woodpeckers.
I have been watching some woodpeckers. We have some of those in the backyard too.
Yep. There's a lot of woodpeckers.
Yep. There's a tall, I guess pine, but there's a dead branch kind of jutting off about 20 feet up.
Yep.
They're going to town on that thing.
Oh yeah. They're loud.
These
Some
are
get really loud.
These are not the super loud ones. I've had super loud ones before because we rented a house with wood siding and we had one that was like just determined to make its home in our siding. That one was loud.
That sucks.
These two,
Because they're protected too. You can't.
yeah, this one was a
harm them.
larger one. These two are two smaller ones that are kind of like, going nuts
Okay,
on that dead
yeah.
branch. But
Whatever the like Woody Woodpecker style one with like the red head.
yeah, some sort of red crested something.
Yeah, something like that.
There's one with
I've seen those on my property.
Yeah.
They're big.
There's ones
They're like,
like
12 to 18 inches tall.
there's
They're
red crests.
big.
There's like one with a red dot, and there's one with an entire red head.
Yeah, the red head one I think is the one that I've seen. Like it's
okay.
like very recognizable, like classic thing. I
Yeah.
like looked it up because I was watching it. It was so loud. It was like 80 feet up in the air, and I could see it, and it was like super loud. I could hear it from like inside the house.
Yeah, they definitely are
I was
protected.
like, I got to
in
go
our
look at
state,
this thing. Yeah. Anyway, cool.
All right, that's it for me on feedback.
Okay, I got some from Fiddle Twist, a name we're familiar with. Brian, you have achieved a thing that I first heard of as a knitter with yarn. Sable, stash acquisition beyond life expectancy. Oh, I see where we're going with this. Oh, this has got to be a common thing for knitters. I know a lot of knitters that are like, I have more yarn than I could use in 12 lifetimes. Fiddle Twist says, I agree. Clearing out all the stuff in my parents' house after my mom died made me go through a series of purges. Also, I have periodic political panic where I feel imprisoned by my stuff and unable to consider fleeing the country, which is a whole other issue. Well, I don't have that particular issue, but I definitely have the imprisoned by your own stuff thing that happens on a fairly regular basis. Plus, we just finished the school year, so we have like all the kids' papers and art projects and all the stuff from the year. And so we're kind of in purge mode with that stuff a little bit too, especially like Joseph has finished middle school now. So it's like all the middle school stuff. It's kind of like, yeah, I think we're kind of outgrowing that. So we're in a state of transition in the Goulet household, though I'm still acquiring just as much as I'm getting rid of. That's a whole other thing. Let's see here. Christina's 8792 said, Brian, you should read this book called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. I have never heard of this book. It is not as morbid as it sounds. It's a very good book that addresses the things that are important to you versus clutter. I'm 40. I've been married 20 years, raised 2 kids, and moved to different countries due to our lives in the military.
Sounds similar to you.
Except for the military part.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in a very similar stage. We have accumulated a lot of stuff and feel it's time to declutter. This book has been a great resource. You're never too young to go through this process. Okay. Yeah, I can get into that. I mean, it's completely unnatural for me to do that.
Which is probably why you would need a little bit of help
I would definitely need
from the
help.
Swedes.
This is where Rachel is helpful because
Yeah.
she's not as attached to stuff as I am. So I'm basically just kind of like, hey, Rachel, we're going to do this. And she's like, great. And she like gets right on it. And then I'm just hauling out bags of stuff and running to Goodwill and, whatever. Very cool. Thank you. I will have to check that out. And then Dave Goodridge says, it's time for another Hall of Fame pen. Noted.
We've been thinking about that.
Noted.
We've been thinking about
I've
that,
been
Dave.
thinking about it. There will be one in the works in the not too distant future.
We've got some ideas, but obviously if any of you have some thoughts. So
Yes.
far, we have inducted the Pilot Vanishing Point and the Lamy 2000.
Mhm.
Brian has lots of good reasons that you could and should check those out.
Yep.
But yeah, we haven't done number 3 yet.
We haven't. I also didn't like set a specific timeline for
No,
when the
no,
next
no.
one. I was thinking like maybe 2 a year.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty good amount. We
But-
kind of came out with the first 2 a little bit rapid. It was like a month in between,
Mhm.
but I wanted to get the ball rolling a little bit. So,
But if anybody has any thoughts, ideas, opinions, we'd love to hear it.
yeah, cool. All right, that's it for feedback. Let's talk about some new stuff. All right. Oh, I just scratched the most disgusting part of my face, Drew.
Oh, there we go.
Gross.
Terrible.
Now I'm touching my computer with it. Daggone it.
Yep.
What are you gonna do?
Throw it away.
Yep.
Burn it.
Burn the computer. It would be more sanitary. I don't know about that. Ash is pretty unsanitary as well. Right?
I don't think so.
Like ash? Like that's not good
I think
for
it
your
is.
body. What?
I mean,
No way.
there's nothing to it. It's dead. It's just carbon.
Yeah, but it's like soot is not good for your body.
I mean, not to like inhale, but it's like
or like ingest or like
It's
rub on your body or I don't know. I guess there's not like
it's-
bacteria.
no,
that's in it?
it's.
What are we even
I
talking
think
about?
it's mostly inert. I mean, it's good for your soil. It's good for your soil.
It is good for the soil.
Yeah,
That's true.
but I mean, nothing can survive that.
I don't know.
There's nothing organic going on in ash.
I mean, yeah, there's
Nothing alive.
I don't know actually.
It's been burned to nothing.
Yeah, but like after it's been burned, then it's like fertile for other things, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't think it's harmful.
I don't know. It's not good for your lungs. I know that.
No, it's not.
Anyway, yeah, we're talking about new stuff. Okay, so what's new? What's coming soon? So I have a couple things. One of which you may already be familiar with because we already put a video out about it.
Hey,
The Lamy Safari Summer Editions. These are for online only. They're not going to be sold in stores.
e-stores.
Which e-store. Ooh, are we an e-store?
Yeah,
That's cool. Sounds like a kiosk at the airport. You know,
Mhm.
it's the e-store.
or vending machine.
Yeah.
I need earbuds. Stat.
Earbuds at the ear store. Oh, not ear store, e-store. The ear store. That sounds weird.
I was just thinking about one of those little random electronics vending machines if you do need overpriced earbuds.
For
like,
sure.
Immediately.
For sure. I've never bought any of those at like an
Neither have
airport
I.
kiosk thing.
No.
I'm always well stocked on the earbuds. I know when I'm traveling what I'm in for.
I can't do earbuds. They fall out.
I love earbuds.
But I will definitely bring headphones for sure.
Fair enough. I usually bring both. So I have backups
Oh,
because I don't want to hear a bunch of plain noise.
Nope.
You know? Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. So, 2 Lamy Safari. These are special editions, just like you have with the Pink Cliff and the Violet Blackberry, except these are 2 different, completely other pens. So that's interesting. And if you like that vibe of the multicolor, color pop kind of a thing, these have it going on pretty strong. So they have 2 pens, Cherry Blossom and Pina Colada. And I like them both, but I think the Pina Colada is getting a little more love, a little more attention in the online space. At
Someone
least from
told me
comments
that
we're hearing.
Pina Colada looks a little bit like a Pokemon. I don't know which Pokemon, but I can see how it gives
The
that
blue
vibe.
and yellow? Yeah. Oh, I don't know my Pokemon well enough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
I could see that.
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Okay.
The other one, I don't know if it looks like Cherry Blossom to me. To me, it reminds me of Kirby. You know,
Oh,
kinda
it definitely
pink
looks
and
like
red.
Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I got to Google pink and yellow Pokemon. Which ones are we talking about here? Not Pikachu. What are you doing?
Well, it's not pink and yellow. It's blue and yellow, right?
Blue and yellow. I said pink and yellow, but I typed blue and
Oh,
yellow.
okay.
Pokemon
Yeah.
that are blue and yellow. What
know.
is that one? Oh, there's a couple blue and yellow ones.
Yeah.
Squirtle's
There's
got a blue
few.
and yellow. Okay. Sure. Why
Yeah.
not?
We'll go with that. We'll
There's
accept it.
definitely some. Most primary colors are going to be found in Pokemon. Anyway, they're $29.60, just like all the other safaris, and we have them. I have no idea for how long because they've never done this. I would assume it's going to be like most other special editions, but you know the whole e-store thing. I have no idea. I don't know how many they made. It's probably like a one-shot deal. Like they made a batch of them of a certain size, probably a pretty decent size, and they'll be available. So I don't know. I don't know if they're just going to be around for the summer. I guess I don't know much, but anyway, go check them out if you are interested. We have them available now. And then we have our own exclusive Monteverde Innova Formula M.
This is exclusive?
Right? No, maybe it's not. I'm thinking of something else.
Oh, it'd be nice if it was.
I'm thinking a different pen.
But
Sorry.
yeah, I didn't think this
We have a
one
lot
was.
of things in the works. Sometimes I get them mixed up. This one is not exclusive. I was thinking of the ombre, the other one that we already mentioned, right? We mentioned that, right?
The blue one?
I hope I mentioned it.
Oh, yes, the Invincia.
The
yellow, yeah.
Yep.
That
there
one
you
is
go.
exclusive. Yep.
So many I's and A's in these Monteverde
Yes,
names.
indeed.
Anyway, sorry. We've already done an exclusive Formula M. We did the purple one a while back. This is not our exclusive, but it is pretty cool looking. So if you're into like the rainbow, like PVD kind of vibe, you get that, but with the braided kind of look that you get on the Formula M's. So not everybody's vibe. I know it has a little bit of, I don't know, it's a texture thing. I think some people just don't like that texture because it's not like a coated with like a
lacquer.
because like they've done like the carbon fiber Formula M's and stuff like that have been coated. You don't feel the texture, but these you feel the texture.
Well, the Formula M's have never been carbon. The Formula M's are.
Sorry, the Formula. Yes, you're right. The Innova, when they brought
Yes.
it back, that was their anniversary, which is crazy because Monteverde's hitting its 25th anniversary this year. And I remember when COVID first hit, we had the 20-year Innova that was a carbon fiber with rose gold
the rose
trim.
gold one, yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's celebrating their 20 years. And now it's like, I'm like, oh yeah, that like kind of just happened.
We lost
right?
3.
And
We
I'm like,
totally lost
that was
3.
5 years ago. It's crazy. Anyway.
The COVID blip.
Yep. Anyway, so Innova Formula M, same Yovo nibs that you know from all other Monteverde pens. $72 for this one. So it's a little bit of a premium over the regular Innovas, but it's a little fancier. So apparently, it's got some more details here. 304 wire braided stainless steel sleeve with rainbow PVD. That's what you're getting on this pen. And it's got a brass barrel, so it's got a bit of weight to it.
Yeah.
This is a very dense pen.
But it's not a big or long pen. It's
No, it's very comfortable size,
compact,
I think.
but not small.
And I don't think it's got weight to it, so you definitely feel it in your hand, but it's not like gonna tire your hand out so
really,
much.
really tight, snappy capping and posting too.
It does, yeah. So yeah, kind of interesting. So anyway, we got those for a period of time. They are limited edition though, so there's only, is it 1999 of them? I want to say. Is that right?
I think yes.
I think that's
that
the
was when they
number.
were
So
founded.
so they are numbered limited editions. So that's how many they're doing. And I don't know if the numbers are fountain pens and rollers, or
That's
if
a good
it's
question. I don't
separate,
know.
because I think they've done it both ways sometimes. I don't know.
Uncertain.
Anyway, so if you're really, really into it, there's only a certain number of them. So put it up to more to the top of your list. Okay. That's what I got. Drew?
I got some walled mans.
Some walled people.
I've got
we want to be
walled-
politically correct here. Drew.
Walled people.
Walled people. Yeah.
Walled people are coming your way in the shape of the Grandeur, which is a larger Waldman pen.
Yeah. I like
This
the big
one
ones.
is $720, but you do get a lot of bang for that $720. And it is obviously sterling because that is Waldman's thing. So sterling and a guilloche under lacquer, a beautiful blue wave.
I thought it was Guilac.
It is Goulet. Yes, sorry. That is how they say it in
there you
France.
go.
Yes.
Mhm.
It is a nice, beautiful, wavy guilloche beneath layers
Goulet.
and layers of beautifully clear lacquer, a gorgeous 18-karat two-tone nib. And
It is
then
a good looking nib.
my favorite
right?
thing, oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Waldman has killer nibs. I love them.
They do.
My favorite thing, though, is how it's not just you. I have seen pens that have a, one colored barrel or one design on barrel, and then
Mhm.
just a sterling cap, and it just looks cohesion wise. I'm like, I'm missing something. But this one takes and gives you a little bit more guilloche and lacquer up above the clip with that nice little band.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really nice touch. It
Like
just kinda
ties it together.
brings it all
more.
together.
Yeah.
Exactly. I really like that about this pen.
Yeah.
So check that out. We've got that available now. All of this stuff is available now, and
Are
I
you-
will link to it in the description down below.
How do you generally feel about the different cap than the barrel kind of a thing? 'Cause
Generally, I
that's
don't like
a
it.
Pretty common thing on a lot of pens.
I like it if it's balanced. Like
Mm.
when like this, when you've got like the way Sailor does it, when it's got you've got end pieces that are the same, and then the barrel's the same, but it's basically like
Something
an
to
A-B
tie-
rhyme scheme is
something
what I
to tie
want.
together. Okay.
I want an A-B rhyme scheme.
Okay.
If it's just A-B, no, get that out of here.
Just like plain color on the body and then like silver cap.
yeah, don't love that.
Straight all the way through.
With the exception of the Neapolitan Lamy All-Star that I make with the brown and the pink pen, I do like that.
That's
I am a fan
made
of that.
up though.
It is made up. Completely
not
made
real.
But no, I'm usually not a fan. But this one,
Yeah.
they brought it all together. I appreciate and respect that.
Okay.
Also from Waldman is the Tango Imagination in Starburst. Now, this isn't available as we're recording this, but it will be available once this airs. That one is the smaller one. So the Grandeur is larger, the Tango is smaller, and hence it is $504. So you're knocking off a couple $100 there.
Does it come wrapped in a waxy paper? Like Starburst the candy.
Oh, it should. It should. It is absolutely named after Starburst the candy. 100% not.
No, it's not.
It is sandblasted, what they're calling Galaxy Gray, lacquered barrel and cap, which also has a Starburst pattern that is engraved into the pen itself. So it's less of a Starburst, more like fireworks from what I see. So anyway, you'll see it. We'll show you pictures right now.
Mhm.
And there are only 200 pieces of these, and you will see again that 18 karat two-tone gold nib. And then, yeah, what do you think? That's more fireworky, right? Rather than star.
It looks pretty fireworky.
It's
more like flower, like dandelion.
Yeah, it's more intricate.
You know?
When I think of Starburst, I think of like more like kind of like a sparkle, like a star in the sky, like maybe with 4 points.
It's like a star explosion.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
maybe,
I guess is a burst. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Something. It definitely looks like a burst. They've
It
got that right.
It is cool though because it's engraved.
Yeah.
Like that's what's cool, and I think that like it's somewhat hard to convey sometimes online with these Waldman pens or really any guilloche pen that we deal with. It's always tough to convey this, but it's like the way that it shines in the light as you move it because it's engraved silver. Like the two different, like it's engraved in kind of like the actual engraving itself is like a V that's engraved in it. So depending on how you have the light, the different sides of the engraving can kind of hit you in different ways.
Yeah.
So with this type of pattern, it's just going to be like, it's really going to sparkle a lot. It's really tough.
And I think that's
that's
the case with ST DuPont's guilloche as well. Like their
Yeah.
Firehead guilloche, like those.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful in an image, but when you rotate it, it's something else
does.
entirely.
Yeah. But even those, like sometimes they end up like being colored, which I think doesn't pop as much as when it's just like the straight up silver.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
this,
I can see that.
We need to do like a spotlight on some of these Waldmans, I think, because like just the way that they shine in the light, it just hits different than the images. Glenn does a great job with the images too, but I don't know. It's just a thought.
Agreed.
Future spotlight, perhaps.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then finally, we've got a new Platinum 3776 in celluloid this time. This is going to be Midnight Blue Ocean, and this we've got a long history with this pen.
It goes back a ways.
When I started here 13 years ago, this pen was like the most expensive, craziest pen we had. Brian had it up on top of a shelf. There was only one of them, and we're like, one day we might sell this thing. However, I want to say that it was not $432.
I don't remember how much it was.
It had to be more than that, right?
Well, there was the Karakusa. That was the more expensive one.
I know, but this one, like, I feel like this was there too, and I don't know.
No, I think it was around that.
Well,
we didn't sell anything else.
Yeah, from
that price.
It's so crazy. Yeah, maybe my context is just so different. To me, $432, 14 karat gold nib, legit celluloid.
Yeah, nitrocelluloid. The
for $432. So. Like I've seen steel nibs.
Oh yeah.
For around this price.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of crazy.
It's a good looking pen.
It's a good looking pen, and it's not just flat blue either. Like at first glance, it might look like it's flat blue, but it does have a little bit. It's not flecked, but it does have bits. It's like
it's got
flecked bits, but it's not a flecked resin. You know?
It's not the whole thing is flecked. Not like you see on what do we have?
You know what it's like? It's like a layer of soil before you get into like the really rough stuff. You get into stuff that has like just some chunks in it. Okay. It's that.
Okay.
So whatever.
It's not like carpet padding where you pull it up.
No,
and it's just like
exactly. No.
Flecks all of it.
Not
it's
like
not
that.
like uniform fleckness.
Right.
These are flecked sprinklings.
But it is absolutely beautiful. It is probably the most affordable way for you to get a celluloid pen on the market right now.
I'm trying to think of
I can't imagine
less expensive nitrocelluloid
less than
pen.
430.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
No, I think this is a steal. I really do.
So, well, and honestly, we ordered these at the same time that we got the other.
Yeah, the cherry blossom and the Karakusa.
And they were back ordered. So this is actually the first shipment we're getting of them. So
they might not last long.
I don't think the supply is going to last very long.
They might be gone by the time you see this, in which case Brian is very sorry. It's his fault.
Yeah, because I'm the one selling it real hard.
It's called the Goulet Pen Company, buddy.
Yeah, I'll take that responsibility. You name a company after yourself. You sort of are asking for it, right?
That is all for me.
Cool. All right, let's do a couple company updates, and then we'll do Q&A. All right, so updates. We have a couple. First off, we have the Lamy Safari video we just got out this weekend.
It's still there though.
We normally don't publish a video at midnight on Saturday, but that's when we are given permission to publish that video, that's when we do it. So anyway, we have that one out now. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. I compare it to what is actually surprisingly a huge number of like pink and red and blue safaris that have been out before. So it's a pretty helpful video just to see what these pens look like in comparison to some other ones that they've done. And then we also have another video that is on a new Sailor pen, the Sailor Tuzu Adjust. It's a long one. I went pretty deep and pretty hard on this pen.
How long is it?
It's like over 17 minutes.
Okay.
But I tried to keep a good pace with it. I mean, I scripted it out. It was like 5 or 6 full pages. And I was like, this is going to be kind of long. But it's like, I tried to pare it down. It's like, everything I'm talking about it's thorough is what I would call it. So, sometimes we produce videos and it's meant to be like a little more introductory level, a little more flash and personality. This one is, it's got some personality to it, but I wanted to make sure that I really thoroughly covered this pen because Sailors put a lot of thought into this. It's like a whole effort they're doing to produce an introductory Sailor pen that, they have the High Ace Neo. They've had the Compass 1911, which both those pens are fine, but they definitely feel like a compromise from Sailor's normal
there was
pens.
less dedication and focus put into those.
Yeah, like if
compared to the Tuzu.
If they didn't have the Sailor names on them, you would not look at them and be like, "Oh, that's obviously made by Sailor." They feel kind of. Sailor's made those obviously, but anyway, these ones they feel like the same intentionality of Sailor, and I think they've invested quite a bit of time and effort into doing these. So it's definitely worth checking out. It's not every day that a major brand like that comes out with like such a concerted effort for an entry level pen. So I think it's worth taking a look at it if you haven't seen it yet. And it's got some really interesting things going on with it that most pens don't have. So anyway, shilling my own video.
And we'll definitely spotlight that at some point. So you can hang tight if you want.
Yeah. And then I'm going to be off next week, but Drew's going to be here doing the Pencasts with Janaea.
Yes, we asked her exactly an hour ago.
We talked about it a while ago. I know we talked about it a while ago, but then it was like, oh yeah, that's like coming right up now because time is marching on and waiting for no one. So yeah, that'll be cool. So should be fun. Janaea's a much brighter personality than me, so she should have a really good time with her.
If you have any specific questions for her, please put them down in the comments and we will reply to them.
Do that. Cool. Okay, that's it for company updates for now. Let's we're also doing the mental health half day when this launches as well.
That's right. We're doing a mental health half day and we're doing physical inventory where we count everything we have.
Yes, we will have already done physical inventory by the time you see this video.
Ooh.
But yeah, that's a big effort.
Yeah.
You and I will be counting ink samples.
We got to make sure that we have what we claim to have so that you can buy what we claim to have.
Yes, so that we do not sell you something that we do not have.
We don't like that.
Because that's not how we roll.
Nope.
All right, cool. Q&A. Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to Q&A. I hope you're ready for some Q.
Ready as I'm ever going to be.
Because Al, who I realized, and if you ever type Al...
Is it Al or AI?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, because we've been talking about AI so often, depending on your font, Al is just going to look like AI.
I feel like Al is a really good name for like an AI, dystopian robot character. I guess you have like Hal from... There's 2001 Space Odyssey. Yep. Al, yeah.
But no, this is not AI. This is Al.
It could be AI.
It could be Alfred or Alfredo or Albert or Alan or just Al. Anyway, just Al is asking, we seem to experience a lot of celeb endorsements of products from sports stuff through to artists doing a signature range of art materials. But I hardly seem to see any of that in the pen world. Have I just missed these products, or do you think we just have a bit of a different subculture? Well, yeah, obviously. Yes.
The sports subculture is slightly different
than is fountain different.
Pens. Yeah.
But why do we have any celebrity endorsements, Brian?
What are we doing here, Drew? Oh, you mean like actual celebrities?
The Goulet toothbrush is as good as it gets.
Okay. That's right. There you go. It is an interesting question because, you think about it. I don't know. I spend so much time in the pen world that I'm like very accustomed to like what's normal in the pen world. But then when I shop at other places, there's like a different level of what feels normal elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't often think about like, why doesn't that happen in the pen world as much? Because I kind of view them as two separate things. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's because it's like, we work in the pen world. So it's like, we have a little bit of that distinction, but y'all maybe don't. But yeah, it's true. I think the simple answer to this is that the pen industry is rather small by comparison to most other industries, even compared to art materials. I think if you're talking like art supplies in general, fountain pens are pale in comparison to art supplies as a whole. So I think it honestly just comes down to numbers. Just how many people are looking at this stuff. Any type of celebrity endorsement you have, it's going to be, how much do they pay that celebrity and how much business does that celebrity bring in by promoting it. So it makes a lot more sense if you're looking at clothing, shoes with sports, basketball stars, or you name it, sports drinks and stuff like that. Like they're much, much bigger markets than what you have in the fountain pen world. I just don't think there's that much money being thrown around, especially in a marketing sense in the fountain pen world. In fact, I don't think there's much marketing money really at all in the fountain pen world because you don't see it advertised much of anywhere in like the mainstream, right? Like
I don't.
I've seen, so what I have seen that maybe could fit into this is more like celebrity endorsements. Like I've seen it with Montblanc more than anybody else because they do promote and have more, maybe not exclusively pens. A lot of times it's like watches and leather goods, but they've had Hugh Jackman. I know that was one that sticks out to me because he did a bunch of stuff, but they've had a bunch of different celebrities promoting Montblanc stuff. But they also have like cologne and belts and purses, and they have all kinds of stuff. So, it kind of makes sense because again, it's not just pens. They honestly probably had those celebrity endorsements more for the other stuff that are much bigger in the world than fountain pens. I think about the Montgrappa had Sylvester Stallone with the Chaos pen.
Heck yeah, they did.
Now I believe he was a part owner. Like I think he owned part of Montgrappa at the time. So I don't know if that counts, but he definitely like had his name on it. He
helped
had those
design,
amazing pictures where he had the pen like over his arm that we still like comment on.
That's very much a Stallone design. Like
definitely. So yeah, I mean that would qualify, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most hands-on a celebrity has gotten.
Recently. I think it was a bigger thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Like Conklin had Mark Twain as their spokesperson back in the early 1900s. In fact, we have a Mark Twain crescent filler. I don't know if we carry that actually. Conklin carries it.
We have at some point.
We have carried it at some point.
We might still have the black one.
So it's like a black guilloche Conklin. The reason they did that and called it the Mark Twain is because that was the pen that Mark Twain helped promote in the early 1900s when Conklin was kind of an up and comer.
Yeah, I don't think we have it anymore.
It might have just been for a time or maybe a limited edition or something like that.
I just think it didn't sell.
Well, we don't do a lot with crescent fillers.
Yeah, I think we carried the regular black one and then maybe one. I think we might have done the rainbow one.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think they kind of just...
Yeah, I don't remember. Or maybe we only carried like the limited edition ones.
Well, we had the black, kind of standard one for a little bit because that was kind of like the regular guy. The herringbone or whatever. The black chase is what they call it. Yeah.
But that was like similar to the one that Mark Twain would have been promoting at the time because he was a spokesperson for Conklin back in the day.
Yeah, it just didn't stick around forever.
And I don't know a lot about vintage pens, especially like in terms of celebrities and promotion and all that. But those of you who are into vintage stuff, I know like there's like a whole vintage collectible thing where you can find like advertisements and posters and all that stuff. Like that actually is pretty darn cool to see like the old, like, artistically drawn kind of stuff from like the 40s and 50s. And they definitely had celebrities that were promoting stuff back then. I can't recall any from the top of my head, but that would have made a lot more sense because again, a lot more people were using fountain pens and familiar with them. Celebrity influence was a big thing back then too, of course, and it would make sense for companies that are selling, millions and millions of pens to essentially mainstream, to have celebrities endorse them. So I think it's really just, the math kind of doesn't work out with the way that things are today. But there have been some examples. I think, what we see more in terms of like celebrity is not so much like the person endorsing it, but it might be like a collaboration or like a designer that helps to design a certain pen and they have like a model or a line.
Yeah.
Like the Mondrian or the, I can't remember, the Diplomat did one with an artist that was like the kind of dipped like colors.
Oh, Volute?
No, it was another one. No, it wasn't Volute, but
Some one like that?
I was trying to remember the name last night too, and it's failing me, but
They also
if
do.
it pops into my head, I'll let you know.
They
But it was
also
a
do
famous
like
artist.
influencer collaborations.
Yeah.
You'll see like Stephen Brown's got an ink.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Peter Draws has a pen. So
Yeah, so I
you've
mean,
got stuff like that.
I think that does happen.
Depends on what you classify as celebrity.
Yeah, I think it's more like celebrities in the pen.
Yeah,
world.
our celebrities.
Influencers. I don't
Yeah.
know. We could debate about if influencers are celebrities.
Yeah.
I mean, they do become one at some point, but most of that is like outside of the pen world. Would anybody know who these people are? Probably not.
Yeah.
But there are some that I've seen. I think about like Lamy has done design collaborations with people who are not pen designers.
Mhm.
So does that count? I don't know. But I think what we're talking about is like saying like the Bob Ross series of paints or something like that. I haven't seen like a line of supplies from a celebrity.
Yeah.
You don't see that in the fountain pen
Yeah,
world.
I
You
do
might
wonder,
see, you might see like a limited edition that's like inspired by somebody or done, in collaboration or with their permission, but you don't see like a whole line of products using kind of that
I
person.
think Stallone is probably the
fame.
most prolific collaboration
Yeah.
that has happened in recent memory.
And that was like a couple of pens and a couple of watches, I think.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't like a
It was still
line.
really
it was more like a
it
limited
was the
edition.
Chaos pen and the Chaos watch, and then some
Yeah.
variations, gold versus
Well,
platinum.
they did the
or
pirate
whatever.
pen and watch. Was he involved in that, or was
I
it
don't believe
just
so.
Chaos?
I think
Okay,
it was just Chaos.
because I mean, the vibe was similar on those
Yeah,
two. Just
Definitely
like,
had some skulls.
yeah,
Pirate.
just,
I like the
big,
pirate better.
chunky,
Yeah.
3D. Lots of things happening.
I do wonder, like, who would be the most apt celebrity endorsement?
Well, that's where I was kind of going with this question is like, what would work? Like, say we could just dream up like what celebrity would make sense to be in the pen world. The math would probably not work out for most mainstream celebrities, but
Yeah.
like, say somebody was like a passionate fountain pen user and wanted to kind of be the face of it just for fun or
Mhm.
whatever. I'm trying to think of like maybe celebrities that we know that use pens. Neil deGrasse Tyson
Mm-hmm.
is one that comes to mind. That probably if he wanted to develop something special or
I'm
a
sure
line
he's
of
endorsed
pens,
some things here and there.
maybe, I don't know. He would be one that comes to mind. I mean, I think of other celebrities who are like actors that I know. I know Deborah Messing's been a Lamy fan. Nathan Fillion has been, I think he's a Lamy 2000 user.
Neil Gaiman,
Neil
obviously.
Gaiman, well, Pilot, Custom 823. So I can definitely think of like people who are either like actors or maybe authors or artists or something like that, or musicians. I would think would maybe fit too.
Yeah.
The right type of musician,
Mhm.
because they're writing things, especially if they're like more like a singer songwriter type musician. Thinking like, I mean, this is obviously, Taylor Swift is like way bigger than would make sense to have a fountain pen
I
thing,
think we
but
could
like
get her.
somebody who's like a songwriter performer kind of a thing. Yeah, we think we can get her. Yeah, right. But yeah, I could see something like that, like a celebrity who's known for writing. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should try to get a celebrity endorsement, somebody that we can afford, somebody that I'm thinking. What about Gary Sharon?
Who is that?
He was a singer for Van Halen,
Okay.
the third one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I feel like he could do it.
Okay. It's probably available.
Yeah.
Probably.
All we need to do is find somebody on.
Find somebody on Cameo.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
Michael Bean. He's probably available.
I've had a cameo from Michael Bean. He kind of phones it in.
Makes sense.
Oh, I still love it though. It still made me so happy.
I mean, can we just do a cameo that's just saying that they're promoting a certain pen and then we just call it that?
Yeah. We paid him.
I'm pretty sure there's like rules against that.
Well, there's only
Like,
one way to find
usually
out.
Well, there's other ways to find out before getting sued. Yeah. I don't know.
You know what's funny?
be kinda
But Michael
interesting.
Bean's going to come up later. I'm glad that you preempted that.
Oh, really?
This is a double beaner.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, man.
I mean, Michael Bean's just on the mind all the time.
He is.
You know? He's just
That he
such
is.
a major celebrity. But I could see like an author, cartoonist, something like that. You
Mhm.
know, like I don't know. You know who would be cool? This would never happen because he's famously not like capitalistic about the brand. But Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, yeah.
I loved Calvin and Hobbes as a kid.
Yeah.
But he like does not like. There's no Calvin and Hobbes
Oh,
stuff out there.
no, there are very few even images of this guy.
Like he doesn't want the brand to be
Yeah, he's
like
quiet.
sold out.
Yeah.
But you know, Jim Davis, Garfield. Jim Davis is like the opposite. He's like, let's put Garfield on everything.
Yeah.
So you could definitely do a Garfield thing, probably. Jim Davis. That'd be kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
You know?
He is long since passed, but I believe that, Charles
Schultz,
Schultz wrote
yeah.
with a fountain pen. I think Esterbrook has done a few Charles
Some Peanut
Schultz
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I could see that.
But,
Does it count if they're not around anymore?
yeah.
I feel like
I
that's
don't
more
know.
of like an
Well,
homage.
Like Bob Ross, like those paints you mentioned, like his family
That's
doesn't
true.
make any
He's-
money off of that.
Oh, that's a whole sad.
It is a
thing.
very sad thing. Yeah.
That is very sad.
So yeah, I probably would say it doesn't count because who knows who's getting that money.
True. But I mean, at the time that he was alive, he had his own line of products and he was doing that. So
Oh, Charles
you know.
Schultz did?
No.
Oh, Bob Ross. Oh,
yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know about Charles Schultz. I don't know that much about his life, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'm curious what ideas you all have. Who would you want to see?
Find us a celebrity.
Yeah. Go out, find them, literally find them, make contact with them, and have them reach out to us.
Yeah,
'Cause that'd be cool.
just like Randy from Christmas Vacation.
There you go.
Bring him in here, the bow on his head.
Oh my gosh.
No, don't do that.
No,
Don't be
that's,
Randy.
don't break laws.
Don't ever be Randy.
No, not a good inspiration.
He's a
for life.
great cautionary tale.
Yeah. Randy Quaid. Is that a celebrity?
Sorry,
you
I'm
get,
calling him
maybe?
Randy.
Yeah, you are calling him Randy.
It's cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie. Yeah. I just went with it too because
Yeah.
I was thinking the actor.
Yeah. He behaves like a Randy. Sorry, no offense to all the Randys out there. I love you.
Drew said it, not me. Anyway, moving on. Let's take our foot out of our mouth. I got one, Drew. This
All
is
right.
about the pangrams.
All right.
The
Pancake
pancake
diagrams.
Instagrams.
Yes.
Yeah. Michelle says, "Hi guys, pangrams, sentences that contain every letter of the alphabet, are used frequently in the pen world and handwriting circles as sample sentences for demonstrating handwriting or for testing inks. I would love to know, what pangrams do you use when you need to test sentences? Here's a couple of examples that I've used. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's 35 letters. I know Stephen Brown has used that one quite a bit.
It's his logo.
Yeah. Sphinx of black quartz, judge my vow. That's 29 letters. That's pretty efficient.
It is very.
Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs. That one's fun. 32 letters. The Sphinx of quartz loved my jaywalking backflip. That's just such a
If you're
good
gonna
visual.
jaywalk, might as well do it big.
There you go. That's 42 letters. And then Michelle says, and my new favorite, Brian Goulet's flapjack rhyme quiz vexed Drew Brown.
It did. Why did you do that?
You know?
With your flapjack rhyme quiz. I was so vexed. I was so very
I
vexed
bet you were.
when you did
I
that.
bet you were. This is how I roll.
All right.
You know, that's
You and those
43 letters.
Flapjack rhyme quizzes.
Michelle's like, can't wait to hear what you guys use. Keep up the pentastic work.
I just want to know how you knew about that flapjack rhyme quiz. That was private. And I was so very vexed. No, I don't have a pangram. I'm sorry to say. I don't.
Yeah.
That is not my default. When my first default thing, if I needed to test a pen, I basically just write descriptive nouns like, fluffy towel, happy butter, stuff like that. Like I just take 2 random words.
Turkey, hammock.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's where that came.
That's literally where that
Yeah.
originated from. Yeah.
So I just do that. If I'm going a little bit longer, then I started off by doing. There was a time where I knew every current UFC champion. Then they added the women's division. Then they added some more lighter weight titles, and then fighters from Dagestan just kind of took over. And now I don't know how to pronounce anybody's names, nor do I have the capacity to remember.
They would
all
be
the
good
different-
names to include in a pangram, though.
They probably
Because
would.
there's a lot of letters in there that, are not used in
There's a
probably
lot of
most words.
Magomeds.
Okay.
A lot of Magomed. Yes, I don't do that anymore. My default is usually the military phonetic alphabet. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta.
Yeah.
I know that whole thing.
Okay.
I learned that just for writing and experimenting
Really?
with fountain pens. Yep, I didn't know it before. I'm like, this seems like a cool thing
Hmm.
to write down, and so that's my default is just the
It is just kind of a helpful thing to know in general.
yeah.
You won't like necessarily use it every day, but anytime you have to spell anything out for somebody and you have letters that sound very similar, it's nice to have like a standard word to go to.
Yeah.
And like more people are likely to know those words than other words that you might
I should
just
create
happen
my
to say.
own just for my own purposes.
You could. There's
Just
no one
words,
stopping
just
you.
my favorite word
Your favorite
from every
word.
letter.
Yeah. You
That-
should do that.
That would be a nice project.
That sounds like a nice question in a future Pencast.
Oh man, I'll
What's
work
your
on
favorite
that.
word of every letter?
I'll be back to y'all on that. That I just realized that is a fun activity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to participate in that.
The X's are going to be limited. Don't have a whole lot of X.
Oh, my
words.
favorite X word is definitely Xander.
Xander.
100%. Love it.
Is that just a name or is that
It's
a
a name.
word?
It's a name. It makes me think of two things. It makes me think of Xander Cruz from a show called Frisky Dingo, and Xander Drax, the villain played by the incomparable Treat Williams in the movie The Phantom with Billy Zane.
Wow. Okay.
Xander.
That's a deep cut.
Good Xander and a bad Xander. Actually, both Xanders are pretty terrible, but Xander, solid X.
Billy Zane. Man, what's he been up to recently?
He is going to be Marlon Brando in an upcoming biopic.
Oh, I could see that.
Oh,
He can pull off a brand.
dude.
Yeah.
It has been making the rounds because it
Yeah?
is frightening. Like it looks identical to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's cool.
The great thing about the Phantom is that when it came out in the mid 90s, it was fine.
Yeah.
And it continues to be every bit as fine
Yeah.
as it ever was.
It hasn't gotten better or worse.
right. And you know what? You got to respect that.
Yeah.
You got to respect, just like the Rocketeer. Rocketeer,
Yep.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's solid.
There was a bunch of like movies like that in the mid 90s.
But you know what? But there were some stinkers too, like Highlander. I used to love that movie. I went back and watched it. I'm
Oh.
like, this is not good.
Oh.
This is bad. This is a bad movie. I love it. It has a great cult following, but it's not good. You know, I would say Phantom might be better. That's a hot take.
Highlander?
I know, but
Oh.
well, no.
All right, folks, light them
Anyway.
up. Let them.
I love Highlander. I do. I had a Highlander poster in my room, but it's not good. It's not good.
That hasn't held up so well.
No, I had a Highlander Endgame poster because I'm like, it's the guy from the TV show and the guy from the movie, and they're in the same movie. Oh, anyway,
Yeah.
Anyway, what do
Before
you?
studios really dialed it in with the superhero
Yeah,
type
well, they
movies.
still haven't made a good Highlander movie. Hasn't happened yet.
It's kind of vexing.
They're working on it now.
You know what? I heard. I was watching a video. It was kind of crazy. This is a total tangent, but it's about the Jetsons. Do you know the Jetsons cartoon was only on for one season?
I'm learning that more
I
and
did
more
not know that.
about prolific cartoons that they were
Yeah.
only around for a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, and they've never done like a live action remake rendition of the Jetsons.
That's true.
They've done like everything else.
I used to love the
Missed
Jetsons
opportunity.
movie though.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
I had
but
that VHS. We watched the heck out of that.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Also
nice.
had the Jetsons Meet the Flintstones on VHS. That was solid too.
Ooh, crossover.
Yeah, they did. They switched time periods.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, that was pretty
Sounds
good.
familiar to me. I haven't seen any Jetsons anything in a while.
Oh no, certainly not.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway,
Do you have any pangrams?
I do. Well, it was interesting because I don't have any go-to pangrams. I want to say I've used the Quick Brown Fox one because that's the only one that I like know and memorized. But I'm very inconsistent when I write things out, because I don't know. I'm genuinely curious though, because I have seen like other viewers like Stephen Brown do this pretty consistently, write the same, stuff over and over again. Does that genuinely help you all? Because I'll be honest, when we're recording stuff to write, first off, I cannot write and talk at the same time. We have to record it separately. And then I do a voiceover because I will do neither one well if I'm trying to write and talk. Y'all have seen it when we've done like, stuff here where we're not cutting it together.
Goulet pens.
I can't, my brain can't do those two things at the same time. The only thing I can do is write out the pen that I'm using and the nib and the color. That's what I do a lot of times.
I go for Happy Muffins a lot. That's one of my favorites.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's different. I think like if the style of video were a little more just open format, where it's just continuous and you're writing and talking and, that makes more sense to like write out those whole sentences. But I feel like most of the time when I'm doing a pen review, the actual writing portion of it, I feel like I don't do it very long because honestly, I feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. And I don't know what you're really getting out of
Yeah.
it. So I am genuinely curious, especially if y'all watch other reviewers and there's things that you like that they do that you would like to see us include more, because we really are trying to like write more in some of the reviews and stuff that we do. But it is just very difficult to show and then describe what you're writing. I have such a hard time coming up with words describing how a pen writes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I can get better about that. So I would love some feedback there. Because if so, like it would actually be quite convenient for us to just like pick a pangram and just write that every time we're writing out something in a video. I mean, that seems like a way simpler solution that I should have figured out like a decade ago and stuck with. So this actually got me thinking a little bit. Should I be doing more of this? Does it actually help you all out to see a sentence with words of different letters? Me personally, I don't get any benefit from watching other people doing that, but maybe I'm just not looking at the right stuff. I don't know. Very curious. But anyway, since I don't have pangrams in my life very much, I Googled it and I was like, pangram generator. And I found pangram.me, no affiliation, but it's kind of a cool little page and I played with it for a little bit. So it wasn't a full deep dive, but I waded around waist deep, in the kids section of the pool. So I played with that a little bit and I created some of my own pangrams that you all are welcome to use. It's kind of cool because it shows you every letter. And then as you type out the pangram, it shows you how many times you've used that letter. So it's very visual.
Oh.
So as you're creating, you have to kind of like come up with something off the bat. So you start typing in a few words and then it like lights up the ones that you've used. So you can see which ones you have left.
Well, it's kind of like a game.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little game. Cool. So I was like, this is cool. I've never seen this before. So anyway, go check it out. It's kind of fun. Pangram.me. So the three that I came up with, because I could have came up with a lot more, but I needed to cut it off because I had other things to do. So here you go. Xavier quickly brought Jim's mop down from Zeus. So that's my first one. The next one.
Zeus and those magical mops he throws.
That's right. But it's Jim's mop.
Oh, Jim's mop.
Jim's
okay.
mop. So Xavier quickly brought Jim's mop down from Zeus.
Okay.
So Zeus had Jim's mop for some reason.
Amongst all of his lightning bolts, there was Jim's favorite cleaning utensil. And he's like, Zeus, what are you doing?
Zeus has got
this ain't a lightning bolt.
Zeus has got to clean his stuff too, man.
That's
you don't
true.
want a big old mess up there.
He's like, well, maybe I'm tired of throwing lightning bolts. Maybe I wanted your mop, Jim. Fine, take it.
There you go.
Be gone with you.
Jim wanted it back. Next one. Kids crafting epoxy have qualms with zoo jobs.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Those zoo jobs. So many qualms.
I have so many qualms.
And then my last one. My jovial exotic ducks quack for bright new posers.
Is this like a I like posers quack, or is it a be gone with ye posers quack?
I think it's open to interpretation.
No matter what, it's not
jovial
gonna,
exotic
it's not
ducks.
Echo.
They're jovial exotic ducks. So I'm thinking that they're quacking for delight.
Let's go with that.
Yeah,
they enjoy some posers.
They like the bright new posers,
All right.
and they're excited to see them. So there you go. Those are my pangrams. If y'all play with the tool and want to post some of your own in the comments, that would be super entertaining.
That would be.
Keep it kid friendly, but
Yeah.
I could see it going
or not, and I just won't mention that one if it happens to be really good.
Or just do that and keep it to yourself and share it with your friends offline
or your parents.
That sounds like a really fun
or your small children
game that you could play. Anyway, so yeah, pangrams. That's kind of cool. I didn't even technically know that that's what it was called. So
yeah, neither did I. I would love to mention a few of those in next week's feedback section, though. So
that would be fun.
You'll have to watch next week's Pencast to find out, Brian.
Look at that. Okay,
you'll have to actually watch.
That's so weird because I normally don't watch our own Pencast.
I'm looking for that extra click. I want that extra view from you.
You will get it.
Help out my metrics, Brian.
You will get it. Well, you better make it worth watching. Let me sell you that.
Okay.
Well, Janae's gonna be on. She'll be entertaining.
Hey.
You'll be there. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, anyway, that's pangrams. Let's go to the next one.
All right.
You got it, Drew.
Question number 3 comes to us from John.
Hi, John.
Who says, I can write well enough with pretty much any fountain pen, but lately I've noticed that for flowing cursive writing, I somehow feel more relaxed and fluid using a longer nib, such as a Pilot 823 or a Diplomat A2. Have others expressed this same preference?
Okay. The Diplomat, the A2, that's like the Excellence A2, in case anybody was wondering. I believe those are both around a number 6 size nib, just for reference. We throw that word around a bunch. If you're newer to fountain pens, you're like, what is a number 6 size nib? It's a specific size nib that doesn't say number 6 on it. You just have to know, and that's what it's used. But
it's
anyway.
approximately the millimeter measurement of the bottom width of the nib that is inside of the feed.
Yes.
Sometimes.
But it varies depending on the brand, and it's slightly different. But it's on the bigger side of your average fountain pen nib, right?
Yeah,
not the biggest, but it's like,
yeah.
It's sort of like if you have a bottle of ink, like 50 millimeters is like your good average size of a big bottle.
Yeah,
it's not the biggest.
Yeah,
but it's up there.
It's number 6 nibs are so common. I kind of, in my head, that's average. But when I think about how many other nibs are out there, I'm like, yeah, they are. When we get
to the next question about smaller nibs, it's actually kind of surprising. There are a lot of ones that are smaller than a number 6.
Oh yeah, quite a few.
So yes, I think number 6 is one of the go-to kind of standard sizes.
I think it is a little,
but it's a pretty big nib. I think in our time since we've been in this industry, the number 6 size nib has become more of a standard.
Yeah.
And I think because it is popular, because of exactly what John's talking about here. So John, both of your pens here, these are gold nibs. So that's part of, I think, what makes the flowiness of them feel really good is you got a gold nib. Generally speaking, a gold nib that's larger, longer tines has a greater likelihood, it's not a steadfast rule, but has a greater likelihood of having a little bit of bounce to it. And it feels a little more flowy. There's a lot of factors involved there, and it's very subjective, but I would say that's a pretty good general rule, when I think about even with the nibs that are relatively stiff, sailors nibs can be relatively stiff, like the smaller 21 karat nib, not super, super soft. The mid-size 21 karat gets a little bigger, but then you get to the King of Pens nib, that one's definitely got more bounce to it. So it's a bigger nib.
They're not all 321 though.
No. Yeah. Sorry. The smaller one is a 14 karat. Sorry. The mid-sized nib amongst the three is the smaller 21 karat. Whew. Okay. And then you got the King of Pens, which is also 21 karat, but it's a larger, longer nib. There's a noticeable difference in the bounciness, springiness of the King of Pens nib versus the 1911, mid-size, or the not the King of Pens, the Pro Gear. So I think that just all else equal, the longer the nib is, the little bit bouncier that it's going to feel. Does it necessarily have to be the case that the size of the nib determines that? No, I don't think so. Especially if you're talking about if it's not the bounciness that is really making the difference for you, there's plenty of pens that are really popular, that write really well for long flowing cursive that are not big, long nibs. I think about really popular ones like the Lamy 2000 and the Pilot Vanishing Point. Those are tiny little nibs, and they write great. So it's not like a steadfast rule that it has to be long like that. I think it's just more like correlation kind of a thing. And then you have brands like Platinum, that their nibs are relatively stiff, even though like a 3776 has closer to a number 6 size nib, but it's not going to be very bouncy unless you get like a soft nib version of it. I think, within a given brand that we might have, if they have a number 5 nib and a number 6 nib available, number 5 being a little bit smaller, for us at least in terms of what you all as our customers are buying, the number 6 is going to outsell the number 5 like all day long. If both options are available. I think about like Benu, some of the earlier Benu pens had a lot of number 5 nibs on them. Number 6 was a little more rare. And, they had pens like the Briolette and some of the other like earlier models that they came out with. And they were good, but like once they started coming out with more pens with number 6 nibs on them, the brand picked up more speed. We sold more of them. We gave them that feedback. And now number 6 is like the default of what Benu is coming out with. I don't think that's an accident. I think people just like bigger nibs, generally speaking, for the most part. I know I do.
I think he's exactly right. I think that longer nibs are absolutely more flowy.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
I think it is just the distance your grip is away from the paper. Because when I think about a pen, like even if you take something with like a Lamy 2000, If I choke,
that's what came to mind for me.
if I choke up on that pen and go
Yeah.
right up to the edge of that stainless steel grip section,
Yeah.
I write completely different than I do if I move back and grab it by the little ears.
Yeah.
So just by that principle alone,
Mhm.
I think that if you have a larger nib versus a shorter nib, the distance itself is going to influence how you flow. Like think about if you had a paintbrush and then you're painting, and then you have the paintbrush attached to a pole. It's the same paintbrush, but the pole itself lends itself to kind of more motion, movement, and more of a sweeping sort of approach and angle. And I think that or a calligraphy pen, for example, Lamy Joy, they're longer, they're tapered. You can kind of I think they're more movement focused. So I think that the nib itself is less of a factor than just what the nib creates.
Okay.
Which is distance.
So it's like, again, it's maybe more of a correlation rather than causation.
Yeah. I think that you can do the same thing with a shorter nib if you just move your grip back.
Yeah.
But because a larger nib kind of makes you do that, it doesn't leave you the option to get closer to the paper. You see that happen just as a result.
I can see that. And especially I think about a pen like the Lamy 2000. If you do choke up on that thing, just the very act of you choking up on it is going to tilt that pen up. And, it's going to change the angle on it. At least I know it would for me. Like if I really want to choke up on a pen, that pen is going up.
Why?
Because I just don't, my big hands and just the physics of me grabbing closer to it, I can't keep it down as far. I don't know. Maybe that's just weird. Maybe it's me. But
I guess if you have like a lot of fingers underneath the pen, you do need to raise it up so your fingers don't touch the paper.
I think that might be part of what it is. Oh gosh, I lift like all my pens.
No. I guess so. Like if I'm holding it like this, I can get lower. But the more I choke up, your fingers do get in the way of.
Yeah. Like as you choke up on it, the angle of the pen is going up.
I can see that. Okay.
Yes, and I think some pens, are meant to write really well at all angles. But I would say like most pens are meant to be kind of a sweet spot in a certain angle.
You're absolutely right. I'm seeing that now.
So certain pens, if you choke up on them, might not feel as flowy, I guess.
Yeah, like to maintain your angle and choke up on the pen, you have to be really like.
Yeah, it's kind of unnatural.
You have to change. Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, but not to say. I think about a pen like the Lamy 2000. Like I hold my Lamy 2000 pretty far back.
Me too.
Because I want
way back.
Yeah, so maybe that's why it doesn't feel as much of.
I don't know. I don't even know if I touch the stainless steel part. I think I'm behind the stainless steel. I'm like.
Yeah.
I think I'm just behind the stainless steel part of the Lamy 2000 grip.
I know me. I don't grip my pens with like my fingers all in the same place. I'm like way offset. So my thumb is usually way back when I'm writing. That's just a me thing. See, yours are a lot closer to each other.
Mine's basically like a, triangular. Like I have top, left, side.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They're probably equal distances away from each other.
Yeah, I think that's probably more typical
I think
how it works. So I mean, your middle finger is a little longer, so of course that's going to be there. But me, when I hold it here, let me see your pen. I left all my fountain pens.
I just have a random retro.
Like me, when I write, I'm like this. So like
that
my thumb is way back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just more comfortable for me. Maybe it just has to do with because my fingers are really long.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You've got your middle finger way out there too.
Well, look how long my middle finger. It's like if I hold it all in one place, then my fingers are really cramped
they're like
here.
Dead spider.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable for me. So the most natural place for me is to have my thumb way back there.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like I'm always holding some grip, some non-grip. Which is why whenever I'm reviewing a pen, I always talk about how the threads feel, because my thumb is almost always on those threads.
Yeah, I grip back there too usually.
Yeah.
There's very few pens I'm way up on the actual grip section.
Yeah.
And I'm fine, honestly. Unless they're painfully metal, I'm fine holding the threads.
Just
I'm just used to it.
Yeah.
I can't do it on the VAC 700 obviously because it's it's nothing there.
Yeah.
But that's actually got a pretty long grip section, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But usually I'm pretty far back.
Interesting.
Because I like the flowy. Unless I'll choke up if I really need a ton of control if I'm writing within a very small constraint.
Okay. Right.
But other than that, I'm all woo.
Interesting.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I think it's.
But I get it, John. I do.
Yeah, I get it too. I think honestly, this all breaks down to so much of personal preference and individual writing style. and stuff like that. But I'm definitely one who likes to write. I almost write exclusively in cursive when I'm writing with a fountain pen. Weirdly, I often switch when I'm not writing with a fountain pen.
Yeah, we discovered that last week about how rare because you were even searching for your like capital print letters.
Yeah. I mean, I almost exclusively write with fountain pens.
That's crazy.
Altogether.
Oh, I love writing print in fountain pens. They look so pretty because you get so much more pooling.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Literally, it was like an intuitive thing. Ever since the first time that I picked up, inked up a fountain pen for the first time, I started writing, and I was like, I feel like I need to be writing in cursive. It just felt totally natural to do that.
It's definitely way more natural. I use print a lot if I'm titling notes or headers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I will sometimes write in print if I am writing a message for somebody else that has to read it, and I feel like it needs to be more quickly legible. You know what I mean? If I'm just writing a note to our team or something like that, that's fine. But if I'm labeling a bin or labeling something that's just got to be it's kind of out there, I don't know who's going to see it, or if I'm leaving a note for our cleaning staff or something like that, I'll often tone down the cursive just so it's not as cryptic seeming. But I don't know. So I don't know. I think this is really interesting.
Yeah, that was a good one.
No firm answer on this, but I mean, I like big nibs. What can I say?
The flip side of this, though.
Flip side of this, I thought this was really funny. Did you do these intentionally back to back?
Yep.
Look at you. I thought you.
They asked them, but I was like, okay, this works.
All right. So Marwunka says, I have a dark secret that I kind of hate to admit. I don't necessarily think that bigger is better when it comes to fountain pen nibs. Woo! Throwing down the gauntlet. Sure, they look amazing. Yes, they have more space for beautiful engravings. But in my hands, they just don't work as well. I find myself writing at an extremely low angle. Look at that. So what are your favorite pens with smaller nibs that still offer big performance? Less than a Yovo No. 5 equivalent or smaller. Vanishing Point, check. One of my favorite pens and my daily driver. There you go.
Well, that one obviously is probably the best tiny nib.
One.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
It really is. I don't know if we're
going
to find anything
that'll
beat that.
That's one of the bouncier nibs out there.
It's a champ. It's a little champ.
Yeah. What do you got, Drew?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I will say that, I don't think bigger is necessarily better. I agree with you. Yes, they look prettier, but as far as performance, not necessarily. I will say
individual style,
that I think that it's probably easier to create a larger nib that is perfectly tuned and perfectly tipped. I mean, just like anything, it's easier to make a big, letter A than it is a tiny, tiny, tiny letter A. You have more to work with. It's much easier to get your fingers in there and align some tines. So smaller nibs are most certainly more difficult to work with if a human is indeed using their fingers to work with them. So Vanishing Point, obviously, champ. Lamy 2000, like we said, champ. That's a very, very tiny nib. It's slightly larger when it's out of the feed, but even still, it's still a very tiny nib.
It's smaller than the Lamy steel nib.
Oh, 100%.
It's really pretty
probably
small.
half the size.
Yeah.
And then the first one I thought of was the old Platinum Carbon desk pen. With a tiny little nib.
Yeah.
It was like a tiny little inlaid nib.
Yeah.
That thing was small, but that pen was actually great.
Yeah.
That was a great pen. It never dried out.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I think the smaller pens, maybe not the Vanishing Point, but the rest of them tend to not dry out as much. I think that most of them are kind of these really tiny ones anyway. A lot of them tend to be not as exposed, like the Gin House Shark pen with that little nugget of a nib.
That Shark pen, that's got a tiny nib.
The tiny, tiny, tiny nibs also kind of tend to be hooded for whatever reason.
Hooded or don't have
Semi-hooded,
or have a smooth feed. They don't have all the fins on.
Yeah.
Them, like a Lamy nib. Platinum Preppy. I'm thinking of a bunch of smaller ones like that. Well, I guess there's just less. There's less surface area on the underside of the feed for things to dry out. So maybe that's part of it.
Yeah. Now the trick here that I found is equivalent or less than a Yovo No. 5. I can think of plenty equivalents, but as far as smaller than a Yovo No. 5, that is tough.
Yeah.
That is pretty tough. And you're looking for big performance. So you could say Like the Lamy nibs are small, but I don't know if I'm gonna say those are big performance. They work. They do their job.
The 14K ones.
14K, yeah.
Yeah.
That's big performance.
Those are big performance.
Those
are
great.
some of my favorite nibs around.
But like the platinum little triangular nibs like you'll find on the Preppy and the Profante, nah. I mean, they work, but big performance. Like we're talking, you already have a vanishing point. I'm not gonna say, you know what you need is a Profante. Like no. What I will say,
it's big performance for the money. Maybe,
I will say, speaking of platinum though, if you can find one, the 14 karat or the 18, I'm not sure, the little gold triangular nibs that you'll find on the modern Maki and the Kanazawa leaf.
Yep,
those I love. Those are
very bouncy.
I will pick one of those nibs over 3776
yeah,
nib any day.
Those are 18K nibs,
and they're smaller. They're about the same size as a Preppy nib.
Yeah,
but I would say absolutely yes, big performance on those. I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I will say that the Curadas, not so much. It's a smaller nib, but big performance, no. Pilot does have some smaller nibs that are smaller than number 5s. They have the small gold nib on the Stargazer, and that nib is also on the Legance, I think.
I think maybe
it's the smallest gold nib that Pilot has.
Yeah,
and
it's the Pilot number 3 size.
Okay,
nib.
there we go, number 3.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of pens with that on them, so we don't sell any.
Pilot has their own numbering convention.
Yeah.
It doesn't line up with like a Yovo or a Bach.
I think it is slightly smaller than number 5 though.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is.
And I love those. Those absolutely big performance. That is a great small nib. I love that. So I would definitely recommend one of those if you can get your hands on it. I don't see if you like the Vanishing Point, there's no reason you wouldn't love this as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
it's hard to find that nib on.
It is. I mean, you can still get Stargazer secondhand.
But the Pilot number 5 nib, like you see, Custom 74 is a perfect example. That's about equivalent to a number 4 Bach or Yovo.
Is it?
So, yeah.
Oh, I would have said that's equivalent to number 5.
No, the number 10 nib is about equivalent to the number 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So Pilot is more of a spread with their sizes.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's what it's not. It's not exact 1-for-1, but that's approximately what you're getting.
How about that?
Because I loved the Custom 74 nib for a long, long time. It was my first gold nib. And yeah, as you know, I was kind of just used to it. And it doesn't look necessarily small on the pen. It looks pretty balanced. But when you hold it up next to some other like number 6 pens and stuff.
Well, if you hold it up to the next level above, which would be
so that would be like a number 10 like you have on
like
the
a 912.
Custom 912.
Yeah.
Yep.
It definitely looks small compared to that.
It looks smaller. And then you go up to like a Custom 743 or Custom 823. That's got a number 15 size nib, which is about close to a number 6 size with a Yovo or a Bach. And then, of course, they go up from there. You can get a number 30 size nib, like on the Pilot Custom Urushi. That's more equivalent to like a number 8 size. And then you have the Emperor, which is like a boat oar.
What I'm going to tell you is go to our Pen Plaza comparison tool on our website. Select the Vanishing Point or a number 5 nib, and then pick a bunch of Pilot pens and see what they look like compared to a nib size that you are comfortable with. Because if it's Pilot and it's gold and you already like the Vanishing Point, you will be happy.
I mean, you'll get big performance on any Pilot gold.
Yes,
like
so that's probably the easiest way for you to figure out something that's going to hit your bullseye, especially because you already love the Vanishing Point. Yeah. So or you can, the Pen Plaza, it's not a tool that most people really know about or talk about. No, it's a crime that they don't.
It's like kind of, I'm not gonna say it's buried on our site, but it's not the thing that people are looking at the most. But for something like this, it's a great tool because you can literally pull up any pen that we have on our site and it has a consistent shot, straight on measuring, and we show it posted, unposted, and capped. So you can really see good comparisons from one pen to another, especially when you're talking about nib sizes.
So go to our website, click on blogs and guides, and then down you'll see comparison tools. And under comparison tools, you'll see the Swab Shop, the Nib Nook, and the Pen Plaza. The Nib Nook shows strokes and line widths. The Swab Shop shows ink swatches, but the Pen Plaza will show you any pen you want that is or has been on our website. You can show it posted, capped, whatever. But what you want to look at obviously is the nib size, and all of them are going to be arranged so that the nib sizes will be perfectly aligned. Like we work hard to get that done.
It's pretty much like where the nib meets the grip of the pen.
Yeah, so
where we anchor that.
You'll be able to very clearly see nibs that are,
Yeah.
different distances away from each other.
Yeah, that's really good for if you want to compare, like, for example, the Pilot ones to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You can see them. And if you really want to get a kick out of it, pull up the Pilot Vanishing Point nib with either the Namiki Emperor or like the
Mag 1000?
Magna Carta Mag
Yeah.
1000. The Mag 1000 is, I think it's bigger than the Emperor nib.
I don't think we were able to show that one posted because it wouldn't fit.
I think we had to cut it off or something. Did
Yeah.
we even have it posted? I don't know.
I don't know.
That pen pushed the limits.
It did.
We didn't build the tool for a pen that
It
big.
did.
But
I'll
it's
also
pretty
say
fun.
that the Twisby Eco and the Swipe and the Twisby Mini, they have those little tiny nibs.
Yeah.
They're fine. I don't know about big performance worthy compared to the ones we've already talked about, but they do their job, and
I mean, it's like
they're going to get it done.
big performance of a steel nib is maybe a different standard than big
Yeah.
performance for
But-
a nice
But
gold
they're
nib.
fine. They're fine, and they're very
Yeah.
diminutive. I'll say that.
Ooh, diminutive.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Small?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like derived from diminish. That's a
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm thinking like diminuendo in
Mhm.
music scores.
They
like
also have the word
getting
mini
quieter.
in it.
Okay. Diminuendo. Anyway, cool. Yeah, so a couple ones that I had, Lamy 2000, Vanishing Point are the goats. Lamy 14K nibs. The steel are good too, but the 4K is the big performance one.
Yeah.
I mentioned Pilot Custom 74. Pelican M400 or the M600. I'm not sure how big that nib is, but I think it's definitely not bigger than a number 5 size nib.
Yeah, I think the 2 and the 4 are the same nib, right?
The 2 and the 4 are the same size nib,
Yeah.
but the 200 has steel and the 400 has gold. So definitely the performance. I mean, the M200 is a good nib, and it's maybe even a little bit springy for a
Mhm.
steel nib, which is nice. But I mean, stepping up to a 400 is like you get better performance for sure. So either the Pelican M400 or M600, especially the broad nibs, are amazing.
I don't know if we have
Um,
any 400s right now.
We don't stock a whole lot of them.
No, we got nothing.
Yeah, so we sell some special editions here and there, but those I would say are good performers. I put the Twisby Eco as one. That's like a number 4 size nib. For a steel nib, I think the performance is
Yeah,
very reliable.
definitely small.
Yeah. I put the Pilot Metropolitan because the consistency.
The Pilot Explorer has much better consistency.
Okay, well, yeah. So
It's the same nib.
I thought you were just also mentioning yes. Anything in that range, like anything that uses that.
I prefer the
nib.
Kikuto, Brian, because
Oh
it's
my
got
gosh,
faces on them.
Shut it. Okay. And then I also put the Traveler's Brass Pen.
Oh,
That's got a
Dark
smaller
Horse.
pen. Yep, that's
Yes.
a
Oh,
good one.
that's a nice and tiny nib.
Nice and tiny.
Yeah.
It's it's very consistent writing. It's only in a fine
Mhm.
nib, but I abuse mine pretty heartily, and it always starts up. It can
Yeah.
take it. So I really like that one too. So there you go. Pretty solid list there.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go.
All right, we're going to finish things off with Alana Baker, who wrote in and said, why hasn't someone invented an adjustable piston crank? It could be a handy little gadget that could fit on the piston knob so you could crank it instead of killing your fingers trying to repeatedly fill and flush the pen, such as after using Bay State Blue. It could join the feed brush in the Goulet line of cleaning and care products you never knew you really needed. Oh, I like that, Alana. Thank you.
So yeah, when I first read this, I thought like this would be something built into the back of a piston pen. Like, why hasn't a pen designer come up with this feature on a pen? But then as I read more of the question, I was like, oh, this is like an accessory.
Adjustable.
So this would be something that you could be like universal. You could put on any pen kind of
That was
thing.
my impression. Something you could fit on the back of a converter or internal piston pen and use that to turn the piston rather than whatever comes stock.
I can see the desire for that because especially converters, they're such a pain to clean out. I mean, part of it for me is like, I don't use that method for cleaning out a pen or converter, like personally, because just winding it up and down 1,000 times is just tedious and not that effective. If I'm cleaning out a converter, I will either just like get as much ink out of it as I can, suck water up into it, cover the hole with my thumb and just shake the living daylights out of it and do that a couple times over. That gets it clean pretty well. Or I'll use an ink syringe and I will just basically flood it a few times.
Yep.
That's really pretty effective,
That's
especially
what I do.
on the more complicated converters. Anything that has like an agitator in it or like a Con 70 from Pilot. It's got all kinds of stuff going on in there.
Mumbo and jumbo in that
yeah,
one.
it does. There's definitely stuff. Ink syringe is like so needed to clean that thing out thoroughly. So yeah, I really don't use it for a converter. So I see no need to have that for a converter.
Yeah, I
'cause
see
you can just
more of
pull it
a more
off
of a benefit for
and
the
then use a bulb
piston.
syringe to flush out the grip section
Yeah,
of a cartridge converter pen. Like there is no tool that's superior to that. That is the goat
yeah,
of pen cleaning accessories. But a piston pen, that's a different situation
yeah.
because you can't take them apart.
Yeah, ones that you might not be able to disassemble super easily.
Yeah.
Or like a Twisby where you can, but sometimes you just don't want to.
I mean, I always do because it's like just moving that piston up and down. It's just such a pain.
Yeah, but a lot of folks have a hard time putting them back together the way
Well,
properly.
you should just try harder.
It takes it takes a long time
Some
to
people,
get them.
I know.
Right.
I'm very like mechanically savvy, so I'll sometimes like not thread it right, or I'll get it a little mixed up. But it might be like a whoops, I didn't get the piston. I didn't get the piston in there at the right interval or whatever. But I've never had like a problem reassembling a Twisby. But I know enough people genuinely have struggled with that.
Yeah.
And then I would say, yeah, you probably shouldn't disassemble it that often. So yeah, I definitely get the appeal for it. I will say from a like design engineering standpoint, to find something that you could attach to a variety of piston knob shapes and sizes and lengths and materials, that's going to be very difficult to do, to find something that fits on everything. Because you get some that are triangular shaped, like a Twisby Eco T. You get some that are tiny, tiny little knobs. I'm thinking about some of the like Peniter, the mystery fillers and stuff like that. The knob is pretty small. You get some that are really big, like a Pelican M800, M1000. Those knobs are really big. So it's going to be kind of tough to find something that's going to work great on all your pens. So in order to have a crank, which I'm envisioning literally like a handle crank like you have on an old-timey car, you would have to have something that would be able to attach onto a piston knob of varying lengths and widths and shapes. That's going to be challenging enough just to get something that will stay attached. But then to have the cranking action too, it's going to have to be really, really, really sturdy on that knob. I just think that that's going to be an engineering nightmare to get something that's going to be that universal.
Yeah,
I think you would get some that would fit on a certain number of pens within a certain range, but some of them it's just never going to work right.
Yeah, I think the crank option is not the most viable one. I think that the most realistic thing you could do would be to find some sort of large, circle about this big that would have an opening in it. So maybe some sort of like rubber tapered thing so that it could fit a number of different piston widths. But that way you'd just be turning something left and right. But the object you're turning is much larger in diameter.
Yeah.
So that you turn this one time.
I think that would be the simplest
and then
solution.
Your piston turns, the equivalent of several times.
But if it's not affixed onto the back of the thing, if you're just like having to like press it onto there,
you would either
is
need
that
to
really saving you?
You would need to either press it, or it would need to be some sort of like, grippy button that you could like squeeze and something internally would kind of close in on it. I was just looking at jar openers online, and there are a number of ones like something like this where it's just, kind of like a grip with various widths, and you could just kind of turn it. But I'm thinking it needs to be something that you can completely rotate. Like Peniter did come out with a small magnetic piston assist tool that attached to some of their pistons that just kind of like you could twist it by hand, but it was so shallow.
Yeah.
You kind of really needed this tool. And that
basically like made it longer.
Yeah, and that really did prove this concept because getting your fingers in there, you had to turn more, but just having a larger, more grippy thing that was just kind of a little bit more beefy, it spun so quickly and so easily. So I get the concept,
but that's not going to be. You can't design something universal like that.
No, the internal opening of this turner needs to be either tapered or needs to have some sort of internal clamp that closes in. Like I've seen,
you know what I've thought?
Like what about those things that like you have for universal nuts and bolts, with like a bunch of little ball bearings in there?
Yeah.
That you can close those over any sort of...
Yeah, like those gator grip type things for like sockets or whatever.
Yeah.
I would be concerned about that like marring the
Yeah, ball
knob.
bearings wouldn't be the right idea. They need to be like
or like if it's
silicone or something.
Yeah, or if that would be tough because that would work if you had like a non-round piston knob. But if you have something like that that's round, it's not really going to grip much. Well, maybe if it was like a silicone type thing. I don't know. It's a tough engineering challenge to find something that can like universally fit all these different things. One thing I was thinking about that was kind of popping in my head as we're talking. I don't know if I can describe this in a way, but it's kind of in my head. So I'm thinking like rather than a knob, I guess this kind of goes a little bit more of the crank route. So just imagine that jar opener thing that you showed, right? It's not perfectly round. It's like kind of long, right? And it's got like these different holes kind of on there. So what I'm envisioning is something that's sort of like that, where it's long, but it has like a rubber grippy part in the middle. So as you kind of like latch it on one side around so that it's gripping the knob in the middle of that long piece,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And then on the other end that you're not latching, it's just got a hole that you stick your finger through, and then you can sort of spin your finger around.
Oh,
it's gripping the thing in the middle. That could potentially work, but I'm thinking it has to be something that like locks.
We can call it the Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. That's not bad.
I like it.
Bad.
The Goulet Frankenstein.
The Goulet Frankenstein. That's an SEO marketable term, isn't it?
Everybody's searching for that already.
Oh my gosh.
That's how you win the internet.
I don't know. That would be interesting. I'm not an inventor, but we've come up with some wild ideas. For
You've accidentally invented some things that were in practice way longer than you intended for them to be around the office.
This is true. I create prototypes that end up lasting a long time.
They work too good for their own.
Yeah,
good.
kind of.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I don't know if this is something that like a lot of people have a problem with. I'm sure there would be some interest in it, but this is such a specific and kind of obscure idea that I don't know. It's interesting. I'd never thought about anything like this before.
No, because really,
so it's really intriguing.
Yeah.
So Elena, I just want to thank you for prompting this because
that was fun.
It's got some wheels turning in there, but I'm like,
or cranking.
Nice. It got our motor cranking. Anyway, very interesting. I would think like from an engineering standpoint, having something that attaches that's just perfectly round, that makes it bigger that you can grip, that to me seems like the easiest thing to engineer, most practical thing. But then my bizarro idea of something I'm visualizing, I'd have to draw it out to have this make any sense, but I can't really draw it very well.
Well, let's make that our priority above all else.
Let's drop everything and
definitely
let's make that happen right away.
This week we've got so much time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Always, because we have nothing else going on.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to be off next week or anything.
No, definitely not. Anyway, so cool idea. We'll give it some thought. If y'all have any other ideas or suggestions, please let us know. Future questions, especially for Janaea, let us know in the comments, or you can email us at pencast@gouletpens.com. And it's time to go on to our spotlight. Not pen spotlight, but ink spotlight.
All right, we're going to kick things off with Oxblood here. Now, Oxblood is interesting because this actually ended up being like one of our reigning champs of not just red ink, but ink of all year long. Like, I don't remember what year it was, but this was actually our best.
This one's been at the top several times. It's always like a top 10.
Which is crazy to me because it's just a dark red ink. And I don't know. It doesn't strike me as something super, super, super popular, but it absolutely is.
That's very popular.
And it wasn't until Writer's Blood came along that it really saw its first major challenger within this color type. And boy, Writer's Blood really did do that. I'm just going to wipe off my pen here.
I'll show you what Drew's doing over here.
Yeah, we got this reusable thing. I'm being all
trying to be eco-friendly here.
Nature friendly here. Yeah, so let's do Writer's Blood first. So, second, really. We've got Matador and Red Dragon as well. Diamine, known for their reds.
They got some great reds.
They
and
really
this is
do.
just some of them. These are just the more popular reds.
Yeah.
They have a ton of other ones too. Oh, so you got ink all over my Kuretake doodad.
It's not Kuretake, Brian.
Oh, you're right. I wanted to say Karakusa. Dag on it. I can't get these things straight. Kakimori. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's it.
Rider's Blood. There you go. A little
All right, so-
darker, huh? than
Yeah,
Oxblood?
not a ton. Like they're
I feel like Oxblood's darkening up as it dries.
yeah. So we'll give it some time, but
Yeah.
these are definitely competing a little bit more for the dark red territory than Matador or Red Dragon are going to be, and both are super super popular. So Rider's Blood was a Reddit ink created and voted on by the community.
The Rider's Blood's dried a lot quicker than the Oxblood.
Oh, you're right.
I'm
Look at that.
noticing.
I
Yeah.
don't think my swab was that much different.
It's hard to say because this isn't like a hyper consistent thing. Look
at this. I'm using my like fake Goulet pen company thing. Well, it's not fake. This was the thing the torpedo monkey created
Yes.
and sent in before the
This is
actual
the proof of concept here.
before the actual one was made manifest. So shout out to my friend Torpedo
So
Monkey.
these two inks right here pretty much compete with each other to be the most popular Diamine red for sure, but maybe the most popular red ink of anything we saw.
Yeah.
Rider's Blood has definitely been at the top since it came out.
Yeah,
But
Red
Oxblood's-
Dragon's definitely up there though.
Red Dragon, I love Red Dragon. I really do.
Let's see if I have enough juice left over here to. Yeah, Red Dragon was my favorite for a long time, but then it gave me barnacles once, and we have not reconciled.
Oh,
It gave me crustaceans, Brian, and ever since
just
then,
rinse it off. It's fine.
I
They
know,
go right away.
I know, but I thought we were good. I thought we were friends. I didn't think it would give me crusties, and it did, and I just haven't emotionally come back from that.
I mean, dragon's gonna soar. It's
I
gonna
guess
it's
so.
gonna do
I'm just
whatever
not.
it
I couldn't tame the dragon.
can't
Is
tame the
my
dragon.
problem.
That's right.
I could not tame the dragon. Now, what I will say is, Matater here has not crusted up on me.
Really?
Matater has been kind and friendly, and has not scorned me like the dragon had. Oh no, I'm getting ink all over
mercy
this.
major.
This
Look at
is
this. Look at this guy.
disgusting. I'm horrible.
Looks like a murder weapon.
I
Come
tell you,
on.
I'm trying to just get as much on here as I can because sometimes these
Fair enough.
can be a little finicky.
Yeah.
There we
Fair
go.
enough.
Okay.
Now, I looked up the properties of these because one thing we do have on our site, I mean, we've done our own reviews of these things, but we don't necessarily fully cover things like flow and dry time, stuff like that. I mean, we try to show what we can, but in our reviews, which these inks have a pretty fair number of reviews. So that's really good to see like what people actually buying them, using them, have experienced. But we have a spot on our reviews where you can see things like flow and water resistance and dry time and stuff like that. So you can at least see what most people are rating them as. I will say the reviews, I checked them for all four of these inks. They're all pretty close to each other. There's not a lot of different properties for these, which is that much more impressive of the fact that they're all still very popular.
Yeah, I like these a lot. I mean, personally, I use Red Dragon and Matador way more than Oxblood and Rider's Blood.
Which is funny because I'm the same way, but Rider's Blood and Oxblood are the better sellers. Like they are more popular.
Yeah, I definitely see their appeal. But when I tend to write with them, I feel like they're just too dark to have a red pop. Now, one thing I will say, if you wanted a red pop without it being kind of aggressively red, Rider's Blood and Oxblood are fantastic. And maybe that's why people like them, because red generally isn't a comfortable color. It's a color of warning, of danger, or of having your paper graded. And
yeah, it reminds people of like when teacher like marked up your paper in class.
So Red Dragon and Matador are a little bit more like that, and Rider's Blood and Oxblood definitely are not. So
Dragon and Matador are really pretty similar to each other.
Yeah,
I will say on the phone here, they're almost coming up a little brighter, like more pink than what they are in real life. I don't know if that's just the phone screen or what, but
it might be. Yeah, but you can definitely check online. We have very good pictures and color comparisons. But you can see the general, lightest and then darkest.
Yeah.
So
dry time is going to be fairly consistent for most of these. Water resistance is
Oxblood's still a little wet there.
Oxblood, okay. So maybe Oxblood is the one that
we're good everywhere else.
Hangs out a little longer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But Matador's 100% dry. Red Dragon's dry.
I think most of these, like in a fountain pen though, it's not going to be this long of a dry time. This is obviously dumping ink down on there.
Yeah.
There you go.
But if you want a good red, definitely check out Diamine. You can check out our swap
Yeah.
shop for more. But these
are
are the
all-
champs, I think.
Yeah, these are all really good ones. So let us know what you all think. Very curious to see. And, if you want us to review more inks like this, let us know because we're just trying this out as a new format.
All right.
Cool.
Well, there we have it.
Um,
Diamine Reds.
yes, indeed.
Which one's your favorite?
I like Red Dragon.
Red Dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they're all good, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oxblood to me, like I know it's the more popular one, but to me, it's like it's a little brown. It's a little dark.
Yeah.
And I didn't find that personally as appealing.
Yeah.
But I like vibrant. I like punchy inks.
I'm a fan of Metator.
It's good stuff too. Awesome. Okay. Let's talk about what's happening.
Ooh. Okay. Some stuff did happen, and let me thank you. There was a bunch of really, really nice commenters here in YouTube land that wished my dog Hank well wishes on his surgery, which did happen. He had a salivary duct rerouted into his eye because his left eye does not produce tears. It never has. It was, something he was born with. So it was perpetually dry, very uncomfortable. So now it is perpetually wet, and that is more comfortable for him. So the surgery worked. He did not have to wear a cone. A couple of you asked about that. No, he did not have to wear the cone of shame. Our only instruction was to keep it clean and to treat him often to, activate his salivary glands.
So you're literally trying to make him drool.
Yes, out of his eye.
Into his eye.
Yep. And
into his eye or out of his eye?
Both.
I guess you could say it either way.
Yeah. And it is working. And it's quite hilarious because, it's his eyes open all the way now, which like before it was just always a little squinty than his other one because it was just always dry. Even when we put drops in it, he just didn't open it all the way. And so he is much more comfortable now. It is always wide open. He's got a cataract in that eye, so you do kind of see like it shines in a different way, but he's much happier. And most of the time, it looks perfectly normal, if not a little bit more moist looking than the other eye. But when it is dinner time or bedtime, which we always give him a little treat before bed, it just like he almost cries because of the food. And so that's really funny, but he is living his best life. We'll have a follow-up visit pretty soon. But everything went really well, and he is happy and healthy. So thank you all for your concern there. I watched a movie this weekend that I was very excited about.
Okay.
The Abyss by James Cameron. I think 1995.
I've heard that's really good and holds up. I've never seen it though.
It does hold up really well. So there was a lot of hullabaloo surrounding the release of 3 4K transfers of James Cameron's movies. He released Aliens, True Lies, and The Abyss in 4K.
Okay.
And within the community, the transfers were heavily debated because I believe he used AI. He smoothed things out quite a bit, allegedly.
Okay.
The film grain was removed. True Lies specifically, it came under a lot of heat for its transfer, and Abyss and Aliens were also part of that. So I had kind of fallen victim to some like dissatisfaction, like, oh man, but man, I watched it. It looked amazing. I was
gonna say, was that from like reading it online?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And that's the thing. You need to remember that whether or not you are a fan of American football or fountain pens or F1, you're going to hear a lot of criticisms from within a given community, as passionate as they are. And it's just, we all need to kind of, remember that with passion comes concern and criticism and trepidation. And we need to make sure our glasses are half full. So I was very happy. I watched it. I loved it. You've got Ed Harris, Michael Biehn, who plays one of his best roles. Like him as Johnny Ringo in Tombstone is his best role, but him, as Corporal Hicks in Aliens might be his best role. Anyway, he plays Lieutenant Coffey in The Abyss, a military liaison sent down to this underwater research facility to oversee the recovery of a lost nuke from a crashed submarine. And he just loses it. And that's when Michael Bihn's crazy eyes really come into play. He is just, twitchy and sweaty the whole time. And it's masterful. I love it. He does a great job. And the transfer looked great, in my opinion. And it's fantastic because there is a little bit of old school 90s CG, but for the most part, because it's James Cameron and he's an insane person, all of it was shot underwater
That's crazy.
All of it was shot using actual submersibles.
Maybe that's why I've heard about it, because it's like, I watch all kinds of random stuff on YouTube and all that. And it's like, I think it was like one of the most complicated videos.
Oh, it was hell to shoot.
Or something like that.
Like several people almost died. It was
that's
horrible.
Kind of crazy.
So its production was infamous. So, but because everything was practical, it holds up after so much time. It looks real because it was real. So it was a phenomenal viewing. So I was really happy to have had the chance to finally A, find one to buy, and B, watch it, because it didn't really get printed on Blu-ray, and so I haven't been able to watch it, and it wasn't available to stream kind of anywhere up until now. So very happy for that. Archer slept over at his friend's house, so Shannon and I had the opportunity to go out to dinner. And we went out and got some seafood. I got some shrimp and grits, and she got some sort of seafood pasta. And
I do love me some shrimp and grits.
Oh, heck yeah, man. I'm usually a little bit more apprehensive to try shrimp and grits, because the best shrimp and grits in the world is at Food for Thought in Williamsburg, and I just have been unsatisfied ever since. But I went ahead and took the plunge here. We went to a restaurant called Latitude in Southside, and it was great, yeah. And the every time we go on a quote unquote date, we have time afterwards, and we're like, well, do you want to just go home and watch another episode of Black Sails, or do you want to? And it's Sunday night. We're like, I don't know, nothing's open. Well, Target's open. We're just gonna walk around Target. We always find ourselves just randomly walking around Target after a supposed date night. But
Rachel and I have definitely done the date night after dinner. Let's go to Target.
We love it. It's so much fun. And Archer's not with us, so we don't have to walk. You spend 30 minutes in the toy section.
I mean, that's a plus for me. I like spending time in the toy section.
I'm
like, let me see what Lego.
I do too, but it takes way longer with Archer.
True. My kids move it along a little better these days.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But so we did that.
Literally just went to Target last night.
I'm telling you, it's great. So
Not a paid endorsement.
And it's just fun, because I just just one-on-one random casual time with Shannon. It's just like we just remember like we're just good friends, and it's nice to kind of like activate that part of your relationship from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you're not being, we were not partners in that moment because our kid wasn't with us. So we just completely reverted to just friend mode and just chatting and just hanging out, and it just it's really awesome. Cool. Very healthy.
It's good to do stuff like that.
100%.
Yeah.
So that was nice. I have a concern that I need to share with you.
Oh, please do.
Potentially a debate. I don't know. Not from me to you, but
I can make it a debate.
Lighting temperature, Brian. So one of our lights burned out in our kitchen, and I went to see what we have.
This is a hot item for a lot of people.
It is. So one of our lights burnt out in our fixture. I plugged one in, had the same lumens. So I'm like, oh, wait, no. Same lumens, different temperature.
Yes.
It was a daylight bulb that I had in the pantry, and the other ones were soft white. So I was like, well, I have enough. Why don't I just unplug these and put some daylights in there? Because otherwise I got to go buy some. Plug the daylights in. Shannon was like, what are you doing? What is that? Stop it now. Just leave one unplugged. I cannot have that. And
it like a lot different than what you already had?
Oh, yeah. So white. Okay. And we have like white cabinets. So it was just like, whoo. But I didn't disagree with her. Like, it was very jarring and very harsh.
Yeah.
But it also looked very clean.
Yeah.
So
it's more like a daylight bulb.
Yeah. So I read that in kitchens, that's a good thing. Like you want your kitchen to look very clean, very crisp, and very bright. And you save the soft white bulbs for the casual living areas.
Okay. Because it's more like warm, kind of homey feeling, I guess.
But I don't know. We
maybe it's just with the white cabinets, it was just too much.
It might have. We ended up. She couldn't stand them, so we actually did when we were at Target. We went ahead and bought some more soft white bulbs, put those in, and it was weird because we replaced the burned out bulb, so it still seemed brighter, but it was just because we had gotten used to one being out.
Right.
But yeah, like I think I like the soft white. I'd never really paid much attention to it.
Do you know what Kelvin it was? The one that you replaced it with?
No, I know it was 800 lumens.
Okay. That's a brightness. That's not the temperature though.
Yeah. I don't know about the temperature, but
I've had to learn quite a bit about this because obviously for like video lighting and stuff like that, color temperature matters a lot. But when I did my workshop, like that's a common thing to have to deal with too. Lumens and learning about foot candles.
Yep. I remember foot candles when we were doing film school stuff.
Yep, exactly. So, understanding depending on what it is you're trying to do, whatever given the activity, depending on how much like detail you need to look at, you need to have like a certain amount of foot candles.
So that's like light distance, you know.
Well, it's like light it's within 1 square foot.
Yeah.
Basically, how many? I mean, it's like a foot candle. I guess the candle is just like a measurement. I don't remember the full details of it actually. Now that I'm talking about it.
This was 2003. I learned about
yeah,
this.
but it basically has to do with like, you know, you have the certain lumens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like depending on how big of a space that's covering and like how high up it is and all that kind of stuff. It's like how much light is actually hitting the floor.
Yeah.
So, you know, the more lights you have, the higher the foot candle it's going to be. We did that like for this building when we renovated the whole thing. We replaced all the lights in this building. So that was one thing that we had to calculate out with the warehouse, because not only do you have this giant open space and we need to determine, okay, we're going to be looking at like product codes and like really small things in this huge space, but then there's also going to be shelving that's going to block a lot of light. So it's like we had to really calculate out how much light do we need for that space. But even there, like if you notice our lights in this building, they're pretty white.
Yeah.
You know, like we went with more daylight bulb as opposed to the like very yellow. So it's like let me see if I get this right. The higher the Kelvin, the whiter it is.
Sure.
Yeah. The whiter it is. So that's one thing. Like if it doesn't say like daylight or soft light or whatever it is, if you look at the Kelvin rating of it, you know,
Okay.
I think generally speaking, like 4,000 is kind of like neutral. If you go above that, it starts to get whiter and bluer.
Yeah.
The further up you go. So the lower you go, the yellower it looks. So if you get like a 2,300 or something, and then you throw in a 6,000, it's going to look so out of place.
Yeah. Well, also out of place, like our living room, our dining area, and our kitchen are all one long kind of strip in the back, you know, toward the back part of the house. And in our living room, which is where the couch and the TV are, obviously, we have recessed LEDs.
Okay.
But then in our dining area and our kitchen, we have the soft white. But the LEDs are just like white. So we can't have those on at any time if other lights are on. So I was thinking like, all right, if we have white in the kitchen and in the living room, we can have those two on, and then the dining room in the middle, just no lights. Like it'll have plenty of spill. Or for like cozy dinner, we turn the two lights on the left and right off and just have the soft white for dining opportunities. But yeah, we still could not do the kitchen like that. Do you think about that? Do you have like soft white or daylight in your house?
Yes. So I mean, I'm aware of these things, but
you
I'm
have
not,
recessed cans, right?
We have a mixture of different things going on in our house.
Do you mostly do lamps or do you do overhead stuff?
We got a combination of everything.
Oh, okay.
We've got recessed, but it's not like full cans. It's like the real small. They were previously halogen bulbs.
Okay.
But I replaced them with LEDs.
Okay. Yeah, I have the slim LEDs that didn't have they don't have cans.
So we have recessed LEDs there's some in our kitchen and our living room, but then we have a ceiling fan that's got bulbs in it overhead.
But are they all the same temperature?
We've got kind of a mixture going on.
Okay.
So yeah, if I was that particular about it, it would be kind of a nightmare for us.
Yeah.
And then we had previously had a fluorescent tube light in our kitchen.
I thought that was still there.
Well, it's still there, but I've replaced it with LED lights.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You took the tubes out and put other lights in there.
Well, the ballast burned out, so I had to replace the fluorescent.
That's
I intend to replace that whole structure, but it's like literally it's not recessed into the ceiling. It's like dropped down.
And you'd have to paint.
It's like a whole construction project to change the light in there. So I just haven't done it yet.
No, all your stuff is outside. You do outside projects.
I do plenty of inside projects too, but that's one that I'm like, anything in the kitchen and in the bathroom, I'm like, ugh, because I know it's like pulling a thread on a sweater. Yeah. As soon as I start doing that, then it's like, oh, I patch that up. Oh, the paint on the ceiling doesn't work. Now I have to repaint. Oh, but it goes into the living room too. So I'm going to repaint, you know, and it's just like.
Well, you've got a similar situation than I do where everything's connected down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'd like to paint, but I'm like, well, where do I end it? Because it's all one long thing.
Exactly.
Like I'd love, So we've got a little bay window. I might just paint like the kind of recessed part of that.
Yeah.
To be like
make a little
bit of an
change.
accent.
Yeah, that's good. If you don't want to repaint everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, ours, just to show you how not like particular we are about our lighting. So I had the situation where we had fluorescent tube lighting, which they don't really sell those anymore because they're phasing them out. You know, it's just like the 40-watt tubes with all the mercury in them and everything. Yeah. So I already had a whole bunch of those bulbs from my old workshop. And I had a blend of color temperatures because I couldn't dial it in with the color temperature. So I did a mix and match because they were like, you know, light fixtures that were way above in my workshop. So I just did like every other tube was like daylight, yellow light, and then it kind of evened it all out by the time it hit the floor. But I tried doing that in our kitchen, and I ended up with like, you look up and see the tubes and you see like drastically different colors. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird. But then that ballast burned out. So then I replaced it with LEDs. But the problem is the LEDs, they weren't like, I couldn't just replace it with LED like tube bulbs because the ballast wasn't working. So I had to get like LED fixtures. But if I didn't want to get into the whole construction thing, I had to put it within the existing like frame of the thing.
That's right.
So I had these two slim LED fixtures that are like diagonal because that's the only way they'll fit. So I have this ugly, rectangular thing hanging down from the ceiling with these LEDs diagonally through it. And I'm like, this is awful. But then, we have clutter all over our house and it's a mess anyway. So I'm like, the lights are about the last thing I'm
just remembering, like, I used to replace regularly the fluorescent tubes in our old office.
Yeah.
In our original office.
Oh, yeah.
We had some that were the U-shaped tubes.
Yep.
It all just came flooding back.
Oh, yeah.
I remember,
like in our warehouse,
unhooking those grids, and then it would swing down, but you can't let it swing too bad because they're just on these little hooks, and the whole thing could come down.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't thought about that.
Remember that? We had to do that like all the time.
I did it a lot.
In the warehouse, we had to get on a ladder and get up and change it.
I did that a lot.
And there were 8-foot fluorescent tubes in the warehouse. Yeah. Changing those things was a nightmare.
I don't know if I ever did those.
Yeah, we had to replace that a couple of times. Those are even harder to find.
Maybe I did. I don't remember.
That's why when we moved in here, it was like, we're going to get LEDs everywhere. Yes. And yeah, we literally have not had to change a bulb in this building for the last 7 years that we've been here.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's been nice.
That is pretty cool.
What sucks though, this is not related to anything. When we moved in here, there was like, this is when Obama was still in office. He had like credits for replacing like LED lighting and stuff like that, like an energy saver type of credit thing. But it lapsed for like a 9-month period, which is exactly when we were doing our construction. So we replaced all the LEDs in this building, but we missed the window of when there was like a federal credit. It would have saved us like $7,500.
Oh.
But we tried, we filed for it and everything, but we just happened to fall right in that lapse when we did all the construction. I was like, that sucks. I mean, it was still worth doing the LEDs anyway, but that sure would have been nice to get that credit.
Oh, dang.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, so
fun stuff.
We had a friend from Arizona visit for dinner last night, her and her kid. So he and Archer played upstairs and we just sat and chatted. She used to live in Virginia. In fact, she was the first friend of mine to have ever bought from us.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. And the first friend I ever bought a fountain pen for.
Interesting.
Yep.
That was early on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was back in the garage. So she visited. That was nice. And then, so Friday, you mentioned earlier that we're having a half day.
Mm-hmm.
I will be going camping with my son.
Just
one night
That's cool.
at a park. But yeah, it's an unofficial work thing, not work sponsored thing. But there are a couple of us from work.
Yeah, because we got a lot of campers and hikers and stuff like that here.
Archer's never been, but I do have a tent that my brothers and I went in on.
Okay.
The three of us.
Has he never camped overnight before?
No.
Oh, this is a new experience.
Yeah. So
did you like set up the tent in the yard and like hang out there?
I did. Well, because I had set it. I had gone camping with my brothers, but I wanted to make sure that I could put it up by myself, maybe with a little bit of his help. So I did set it up in the yard, just to make sure that I didn't get there and be like, crap. But yeah, so yeah, it's there. I have all the parts because since we share it, my brother had it for a long time. I just wanted to make sure everything was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was able to do it. He did help me a little bit to bring it back down.
Cool.
So we're going to go do that Friday night. And then Saturday night, I will be going to see my brother's band. He just joined a band recently. He's their drummer. So it's not exactly my type of music. It's metal, which I like, but it's American metal. So the vocals are a little bit more rough than the European metal I normally listen to.
Not as operatic.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I am very, very excited to support him because my other brother, so Chad, was the lead singer in a band, a power metal band, for quite a number of years, and the bassist. Zach has been the drummer, and he's never really been a part of an official band, but he has been drumming since high school.
Wow!
Despite having never actually been in a band.
How about that?
He's jammed with some people. He's got a nice little studio space in his basement, so it's remained a passion, but he's never actually been in a band. And
props to him for keeping up with it all these years.
Yeah,
so he must just really love doing it.
Yeah, so I'm really proud of him. He's finally actually legit doing it. So
that's cool.
We're gonna go and support him on Saturday night.
That's another YouTube rabbit hole I often fall down. Is Drumeo is a YouTube channel that's all about drumming, and they have like a whole series of basically like they take famous drummers and they give them some different song style or something that's like outside of what they normally do. And they're hearing it for the first time. It's like a mainstream song, but it'll be like a famous jazz drummer who they give like some like, speed metal or like some other kind of, they're like Metallica, something like that. And they're like hearing it for the first time. And then they're either having to like play it back after having it heard one time, or they play the track with no drums in it.
And they fill in?
And they have to do what they think it sounds like. And then they go back and listen to the original. It's just, I don't know. It's really interesting to me.
That is fascinating.
And they're always amazing because I'm like, these are professional drummers.
Yeah.
And like, it's just so interesting to see. I don't know. This is one thing I watch a lot on YouTube.
That's crazy.
Totally
That actually
random.
sounds really cool.
It is cool. Yeah. But mad respect for drummers. It is so hard to drum. Like it takes such coordination and tons of practice. So
I remember
respect.
he's been super passionate about it. One of my favorite and most hilarious memories of Zach is when we were in Best Buy, and we were probably 15, 16. He's 3 years younger than me. So, I don't know, late teens. And he was just excited about the idea of playing drums. All he had was the little pads, but he's like, he knew he wanted a drum set. He knew he was going to get a drum set eventually. And he had 2 CDs in his hands. We're in the CD section of Best Buy. And he literally just said, I'm so excited about playing drums. And he started just swinging his CDs. And he, with the corner of the CD case, full strength, just slammed it into some random dude's back.
Oh boy.
And the dude was just like, ah! And made the funniest noise because this kid's just like pretending he's drumming because he's excited.
Wow.
He goes, whack!
Not paying attention.
This poor man just makes the most horrific, guttural, scream of pain. And he just profusely apologized, and we just ran away.
Wow.
But he just straight up nailed some dude in the back because he's so giddy about playing drums. So
wow.
That is the extent of this man's passion for the percussion.
There you go. Paradiddle. I know that's a thing.
Oh, okay.
That's a rhythm.
Oh, right.
Something.
Yeah. I'm sure he's parried some diddles before.
Yeah.
Rachel's
sister was a drummer.
I don't think I knew that.
She played drum set. Yeah.
Oh,
back in the day. Yeah.
Nice.
Rachel,
so
and
a
her
drummer
sister.
and a pianist.
Yep.
All right, keeping all the rhythm.
And singers. Yeah, but singers as well. Yep.
Cool. Well, that's it for me.
Yeah. Rachel played bass guitar.
Oh, that's right.
And regular guitar, but she played piano.
Yeah, y'all are both
sang.
bassists.
Yeah, Rachel played flute for a year or two in middle school. I can't imagine Rachel playing flute. And then she got braces, and then she said that she could not play it the same after that.
Oh,
and
no,
she
couldn't
quit.
toot the flute.
Yeah, she didn't love it anyway. Yeah. But
I loved violin. I was just bad at it.
violin is hard.
I'm just not good
It's just
with
hard.
My brain doesn't talk to my hands.
That's kind of tough. That's pretty important.
I just don't have it.
violin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't have
Pretty
it.
important for most instruments, really.
Yeah, my brothers can both do amazing jobs. Chad's a singer and a bassist. Zach's a drummer. And I just don't. They took it all. Jerks.
Stinks.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. Camping. I hope that's a good adventure.
Yeah. Bring some
Weather
hot dogs, some
weather holds out.
marshmallows, and yeah.
Yeah, that's something I'll never get to experience because Rachel does not.
Oh,
want
neither does
anything
Shannon.
To do with camping.
That's why she's not coming.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't love camping either. I haven't done it since I was in high school. But even when I did, I wasn't crazy about it.
It's fun in short bursts. I don't need to do it every year.
Yeah.
But I like the tools and the gadgets, and
that's the thing is like I
like
could get
the
into the
assembly
gadgets.
of the tent, and it's just kind of fun.
I love that stuff too.
I honestly, one night I think will be perfect. I'm 2 nights. I'm like, I think the novelty would quickly wear off.
Yeah, the longer you go, the less I get excited about it because then you're like, I really need a shower, but that's not happening,
Yeah, one night will be just fine.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's fun. I don't even own a tent or a sleeping bag. My kids have sleeping bags for sleepovers and stuff, but I'm not equipped to camp. I have lots of rope. I could rope the hell out of some things. And I got hatchets. Oh boy, do I have hatchets.
I know.
Hatchets and rope. That's what I got. So if you want to go camping,
you need somebody that has
I
the
could
hatchets
tie up
and
some
rope.
things and I could kill some things.
There we go.
Trees or small animals, maybe. I don't know. I don't kill animals. I don't hunt or anything.
I'm sure you would find a tree that needs to come down. You'd be like, oh, this needs to come down.
I would just like build myself a little log cabin or something. I'd be like, forget your tent. Look what I'm making.
Get some mortar and tenant and what's the hole in the
mortise and tenon.
Mortise and tenant.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Tenon.
Tenon.
Tenon. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not gonna remember that.
Cool. You don't need to. It's not a thing you need to know in your life.
The first bed that I had when Shannon first moved in with me was one of those.
Oh,
It looked like something from Great Wolf Lodge or something like that.
that's awesome.
It basically fell apart and broke. It was
Oh gosh,
my aunt gave it to me when
Oh,
I
boy.
moved out. It was,
maybe it wasn't assembled correctly.
I mean, it was pretty simple. It's just you put the peg in the hole,
Yeah,
but
true.
yeah, it wasn't.
Interesting.
It was on its last legs,
Yeah.
and it also moved like 5 different times.
Oh, yeah. That tends to wear out a piece of furniture. Okay. Ready for me, I guess?
I am so very ready for you.
I don't have a lot, but I can talk a lot.
I see the
so
word
we'll
84
see.
in here. Tell me more about that.
I do. That's part of why I put it in there. Honestly, just doing lots of chores around the house.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's super thrilling.
Yeah.
I mean, last week was kind of crazy. We know at this point that what helps us maintain the sanity in our life, especially for Rachel, is she basically needs to like kind of take the week off the last week of school.
Oh yeah.
Because the kids, they've had their SOLs, they've had to, they have some exam blocks and stuff like that. But like if they pass their SOL, they don't have an exam. So it ends up being like shorter days because they're exam days, but then they don't need to be there for every class. So between our 2 kids, it ends up being like total popcorn as to what their schedule is for the last week of school. Plus there's all this
That's
extra
right. I remember her
stuff in
talking
there,
about that.
bringing artwork and paperwork home and all this stuff. There's yearbooks and all that stuff to deal with, and spirit days and dressing up and all these different, so it's just like, it's just a lot to manage.
Yeah.
And we like drive our kids with like a carpool kind of a thing with other kids. So it's like multiple sets of parents and families with all the different kids and their schedules and all that. It's pretty wacky, but the key to doing it successfully is to spend most of the time doing that and not worrying about work quite as much. So that was her last week. So she mostly ran that, and I'm like, just tell me what to do and where to go and I'll make it happen. So Joseph and I got haircuts. We definitely needed it.
So did Archie and
last
I.
week. Yeah. Looking sharp, Drew.
They didn't take off enough on the top, but that's fine. I don't have a lot these days, so it's fine.
Maybe that's why they didn't.
They're like, oh, come on, buddy. I'm not going to do that to you. You need all you can get.
That's right. Oh, goodness. I went a little shorter on the side than I normally do because I was like, you know what? It's getting hot. We're going to go
Looks like about
closer.
The number 2?
Number one.
Number one?
Number
Oh,
one.
dang, okay.
Yeah, I usually go 1.5. Yep. Let's see here. I ended up going to Home Depot a bunch of times. I mentioned the wood that I have in a trailer that's now in my garage that's keeping Rachel from parking in it. But I need to build shelving to store the wood. And in order to build the shelving, I had to get the like screws and all this stuff to be able to attach the shelving, because where I need to store it has cinder block walls. So I have to attach the shelving to the cinder block. So I need like special like masonry screws and stuff like that. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's moving along. It's happening, but it's a progression.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep asking Rachel, I'm like, just tell me when it's like unacceptable that this wood stays in the garage.
I think she'll let you know,
She'll let me
regardless
know.
of your request.
She's pretty good though. She's pretty good. When I bought some tools, we ended up adding on a workshop, and I might have gotten a little excited when getting some of the tools.
Oh,
and
really?
I ended up storing them in the garage for like 6+ months because it wasn't ready to go in the building yet. So she's a very patient woman dealing with me. So she's okay for a week or two with having to park outside. But anyway, so that is happening. Lots of house cleaning. Pretty motivated to do that, cleaning a lot of stuff, and as I'm bringing more into it. So just stuff like that, lots of stuff around the house, but it's good to do that stuff every now and then. And then we power washed our house.
Oh,
because
nice.
We had a pretty mild winter, and I've got like just your typical like siding, like vinyl siding, which in the mid-Atlantic region, if you have vinyl siding, it's gonna mold a lot, like all the time, because like just we're a pretty temperate climate here, but it's really humid, so mold just grows all the time. And usually if you get a nice cold winter, it can kind of kill some of that like mildew and mold and stuff over the winter, so it's not as bad. But we had a very mild winter, so that mold has just been growing all winter. So even though I power washed the house last year, it was gross.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
oh wow,
like visible green
really
all over the north side of our house. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I wonder
Which,
why.
yeah, it's pretty gross.
You probably get a lot more direct sun than I do.
Well, if you get direct sun, you don't get as much mold. It's on the north side of the house where you get less direct sunlight. That's where it all grows.
Huh.
And I know this because
it's weird
because our professional power washer before this business started.
We're okay right now. We didn't get ours done last year. We got ours done the year before which
Yeah.
we'll need it again this year, but
Yeah.
it's not
I mean,
bad.
we're
Like
also
our neighbors are worse. I looked
Yeah.
at theirs the other day.
Yeah, it really depends on where your house is facing.
Okay.
Which side is going to look the
And
worst.
then we might get lucky then.
Yeah. And like where our like driveway pulls up to in the garage, like that is the north side of our house. So it's like the thing we see
Right in
every time we
front.
enter and leave. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is gross. So
I'm nervous because they busted my porch lights last time.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah,
like,
you mentioned that.
I'm not going to be using them again.
Yeah. Well, I didn't break any porch lights
Good for you.
that I'm aware of.
You're a pro.
I almost never
You're an
use porch
unpaid
lights.
professional.
I am an unpaid professional. I've power washed hundreds of houses and sealed probably 100 decks or so.
I need to do that too.
Yep, that's a whole thing. That's another project I'm going to do. It's prepped. I just got to actually do the sealing. If you want advice, I know how to do all that stuff.
I need to power wash it first and then get it sealed. Because
Yeah.
my house is on a slant, so like there's so much just like random dirt and stuff on my driveway that's just like all in between all the little asphalt cracks and stuff.
Yeah, you got to clean that junk out of there.
Yeah.
Yep. But last year, Joseph had helped me power wash the house.
Oh.
This year, he was not all that excited about helping me do it, but you know who was?
Oh.
Ellie.
Of course.
And I got to say, she did a pretty bang up job. Now, I mean, my house is 2 stories and there's like, the typical kind of pitches that you have there. And I have like a more powerful residential grade power washer, but
Not surprised.
I used to do it professionally. The problem you end up with power washing is you only have so much water that flows through your spigot.
Yeah.
So if you have a bigger commercial unit, you need to have a reserve tank because it's going to use the water faster than the spigot can replace it. And I did not go that hardcore.
So you have 2 water sources going into the same.
Well, what you end up doing in a professional grade system is you have a water tank
Right.
that's like, a couple 100 gallons probably. It draws all the water from that, but you attach the water spigot to it that fills with like a float valve that closes it off when it's full. So it's constantly filling into that reserve tank. So it's just drawing all the water from the tank.
Oh.
So it's just allowing you to draw, much like a fountain pen.
Oh, okay. So every time you stop,
you stop,
it's still filling
it's still
until a
filling.
certain point.
Yeah. So
Oh,
usually
okay.
like, and it's like the
So
bigger.
like if you held it down forever, you'd use it faster
you
than
would
it can
deplete
refill.
it. Yeah.
But no one does that.
But it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Like your average water spigot, we'll go some knowledge here. Your average water spigot from a house might be like 4.5 to 5 gallons per minute of flow.
How do you remember that?
I had to do it professionally and I had to
Wow.
know all this stuff. So that's about, and I'm on a well, so my pressure is not quite that much. It's probably more like 3.5 to 4. And I have a filtration system as well, which also slows the flow down a little bit. So when I power wash, I have to turn off my filtration system and I get like an extra half gallon.
So it's kind of like a water heater where you're using stuff from the water heater,
That's exactly right.
but that's being in turn
Yeah.
filled up. But
Mhm.
if you use it too fast, then the hot water gets depleted faster than it can refill and heat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Except a little different there because there it's like dumping cold water into the hot water heater as it's heating it up.
Yeah.
So you deplete it a little faster. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's if you, depending on how much water you're using, you just need a bigger tank. That's all.
But you were saying, sorry, you
yeah,
have a
so
pretty
like-
prosumer unit.
Well, I have the biggest power washer that you can get that only uses like a 4 gallon per minute rate of flow because there's no reserve tank. So I pull the gun and it's just pulling straight from the spigot and shooting it out. So it's a little frustrating because I used to use it more professionally and I know what the better equipment can do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I could wash this house so much faster, but I just don't have the equipment. But it wouldn't make sense for me to invest in that because I literally wash the house once a year. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, did that. Ellie helped me out. It took longer because Ellie was helping me, not because she did anything wrong, but it's just I had to explain everything to her. I'm trying to teach her.
Yeah.
And she's less experienced, of course, but I gotta say she did a great job. It took us like over 2 days. She was with me for probably 5-6 hours.
Oh, wow.
Because we washed the house, but we also did high pressure wash on the stoop, the sidewalks, and then I washed both sheds and the workshop. So it was a lot of washing.
Dang.
And
Is your workshop vinyl siding as well?
that's hardy plank
Hardy
on
plank,
that
okay.
one. So it's painted. So that isn't quite as bad. And it's darker color, so it doesn't, you don't really see the mold as much. But yeah, Ellie did a really good job, gotta say. She's got my build. So like power washing is hard when you're washing a house because you're holding up the gun and it's like pressure. So it's like pushing back on you. It's like all shoulders and arms.
Oof.
And Ellie did great. She wasn't even sore or anything. And I was like, That's what's up. Joseph, he tried hard. He had a good attitude, but he's just physically, he's not built the same.
Yeah,
you know,
he'd be more like me as far as like it's not going to take a whole lot for us to fall over.
Yeah, and he's like, he's got more Rachel's frame, you know, and it's just
tall.
The physics of it. Yeah, he's tall, and he's like, strong enough, but like Ellie's she's got the Goulet genes
unit
in her. Yeah. So she did a really great job. And it was just really cool to be out there with my daughter, just doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. It was fun.
That's awesome.
She had a great attitude. So I paid her, because that's like,
she wouldn't have done it otherwise.
My whole thing with the kids. I mean, she might have. She's helped me out with some stuff in the past.
Oh, yeah.
She's helped me like move rocks in buckets and these types of projects before. She helped me dig a French drain and lay down pipe when she was like 8 years old. So she's willing to hang a little bit.
I know you've said that she's very motivated to make money and
yeah, that definitely made it easier. She was like, because we had done it on Saturday, and then like Sunday it was, the weather was thankfully beautiful all weekend. So Sunday she was kind of like, so when are we going to do more of it? And I was like, I didn't really want to get back out there, but I was like, all right, I guess we'll do it. Because what happened is we started doing it, and then I was like, while I had the power washer out, it's like, okay, we'll do the sidewalks, we'll do all that stuff. And I was like, this is like a whole project now. It's like, I didn't really want this to take up my whole weekend. But she was motivated, and I was like, I really want to keep that momentum and be a good example for her and stuff like that. So we got it all done, but that ended up taking up a pretty significant portion of my weekend.
Yeah.
But it was good. I happy with my power washer that I've got, and had to maintain it. It's got a nice little Honda engine on it, so it's very reliable, and changed out the oil and did all the stuff. And I was like, I'm like on top of the maintenance because I'm not always the best at that.
Was it on your spreadsheet?
It is, but I haven't looked at the spreadsheet all that carefully lately. I'm good at setting up systems. I'm not the best at using them. I have an authority problem, even when it's my own authority.
Yes.
I'll set up my calendar and I'll be like,
don't tell me what to do, Brian.
I'm going to go with the flow. And I'm like, I created this system. Why am I fighting it? It's just my brain is broken in that way.
At least you're very self-aware.
Yeah. I know that about myself at this point. But anyway, so good time power washing with Ellie. And then I did some more saxophone. So I'm keeping up with that. I'm getting very close to my goal. I'm at 84% of my goal as of this recording. So yeah, I'm pretty motivated, and I've got some time off next week. So I might just like go harder. And
do you know where you're gonna get your berry?
I think I know. Yeah. Again, I'm still kind of considering it, but there's a brand called Singer's Day. It's a, offshore brand, if you will. It's like an OEM manufacturer that like has their own kind of house brand, like a Twisby of sorts, and it's got pretty good reviews on it, and it's far more affordable. It's not like knockoff kind of a thing, but it's more on the affordable end because berries get quite expensive.
Is it at all possible that you could bring it in here for a Pencast?
It's absolutely possible.
I would love that.
I've seriously considered, well, I don't have the berry yet, but
this would be a great room for it.
Oh my gosh. Every room's a great room for berry sax. No, I mean, I was thinking about that. Like I've been playing more songs, and I've got like more of a repertoire now of songs that I like to play, and I'm getting not terrible. And it's like I have an app called Tom Play, which has a lot of sheet music and stuff like that you can also as like background that you can accompany with, and you can change the tempo and you can change a bunch of stuff. So like for practicing by yourself, it's a really helpful, thing to have so that I can really enjoy that. I use another one called Muse Score. That's another app that I have that does kind of the same thing. But yeah, so I have that. It's got a bunch of classical, a bunch of jazz on there. So I play both. But I've definitely considered like, I would maybe want to share that at some point because I've been practicing alone in my closet for, now going on like, let's say I started in October of last year, I guess. What is it now? June. So I've been playing for 10 months, right? Is that math right? No, that's not right. June, August, 8 months. I've been playing for 8 months, pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So
you'll have hit.
I'm like doing okay.
It'll be less than a year though for you to be 100 hours.
It'll be less than a year. Well, I started counting the 100 hours at the end of January. So I'll hit that by the end of June.
Have you heard of or seen this like Lost Boys saxophone guy?
Lost Boys.
He's very often memed because he does this like he's all greased up and shirtless and does this dance. But
I don't know that I've seen this one.
But he's definitely like the most memed, saxophone player out there.
Yeah, he's rocking a tenor.
Yeah, but
all right.
Yeah, he's from the movie Lost Boys with Corey Feldman and Kiefer Sutherland, and
I've not seen this.
Yeah, he's very serious about
he's not messing around.
It's just a very
he looks like a power metal artist.
Yeah,
know?
Well, apparently he's a legit dude, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just wondering if you had.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I've not heard of that. I'll have to Google that.
Yeah, let's see. Tim Capello.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. But... Interesting. Yeah, so I've already talked to Rachel. The Barry saxophone, they get so expensive.
Like, yeah, look how he's just.
Oh my gosh, that's epic.
He's very, very memed.
Absolutely.
Apparently, he played with Tina Turner.
Rock on, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, so we'll see. I want to get some decent music together that I can play pretty reliably well.
I think that
and then
the Pencast needs a theme song.
I don't know what theme song that would be.
Yeah.
I'm playing pretty just.
I guess we kind of already do.
Normal music.
We have our opening music.
We do.
But a saxophone version of it wouldn't be terrible.
Hey, maybe I'll have to. I haven't tried that yet. We'll see. But I thought I'll just mention some of the songs that I've been practicing. Some jazz standards. So I have Duke Ellington's Satin Doll, Caravan, and In a Sentimental Mood. You might recognize these if you heard them.
Probably.
And then Dave Brubeck's Take 5. That one's a fun one. And then classical stuff. The classical stuff is hard. I cannot remember the names to any of these songs to save my life.
I wouldn't know them anyway.
Because it's all in other languages and it's just a bunch of numbers, opus 9, number 2.
You're okay.
All
Your
this kind of
co-host
stuff.
is extraordinarily uncultured.
Yeah. Well, then this is more for our audience then. So I'm enjoying playing Vivaldi, Guistino, Vedro con mio diletto. I don't know what any of that means, but that's the song. Chopin's Nocturne number 2 in E flat major, opus 9 number 2. Not that opus 9 number 1 nonsense, but number 2. And then Mozart's Clarinet Concerto in A major, K622 number 2 Adagio.
I was hoping you were going to say that one.
Yeah, it's no wonder I can't remember what any of these are. So I literally have to go in my app and be like, okay, what's the picture next to this one? Because I can't remember what any of these things are, but it doesn't matter because I enjoy playing them. So that's fun. And I used to play clarinet too. So the Clarinet Concerto, it's maybe I should bust out my clarinet and play that one again. I definitely could because I still have it, but I don't know what condition it's in.
Where is it?
It's in my house.
Attic or?
No, it's been in the house, temperature control and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I just haven't played it in let's see, the last time I really played the clarinet would have been high school marching band.
Oh, wow.
So I would have been 15. So 25 years ago.
Well, your lungs are getting in shape.
True.
So that shouldn't be a problem.
The lungs would not be the problem. It would be the embouchure. Because you got to pinch it. And it's that's what gets tired.
Ah.
Yeah. And the tongue slapping the reed.
Oh.
Tongue gets sore.
So saxophone has no reed?
Oh, it's got a reed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, it also gets sore. But
okay.
Saxophone is easier to blow through. Clarinet's harder.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Clarinet's not the easiest instrument to play, but that's the first one I learned how to play.
I always just assumed that larger would be harder because
it requires more. It requires more air for sure.
That's what I'm saying. It needs to travel farther.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's larger. Yeah, generally is a little bit harder to play, but I don't know. It's easier to play in tune on a large instrument. There's less room for error on a higher instrument. So you have to be a lot more precise when you play those. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so any musicians out there thought you would enjoy that, but I've tried playing some more pop songs and stuff like that. And I just don't, this doesn't really do it for me.
You've tried Huey Lewis?
So the problem is I guess the versions of it that I have, it's basically just taking the melody, the singing parts and making it for saxophone. I'm this is not.
No, there's actually saxophone in some good Huey Lewis songs.
That I would have to go hunting for.
Okay.
I would have to go hunting for that because that Muse score. So Muse score is one that people can upload their own music.
Oh, no, Huey Lewis got some sax solos.
Well, what I'm saying is somebody's got to transcribe that and put it into the format for the saxophone.
Gotcha.
So somebody may have already done that, and I can find that on Muse score. So I'll look for some Huey Lewis stuff. What I really want to do is some Tower of Power, that kind of stuff, which Rachel's dad has played some of that stuff. He's a trumpet player and he is a big like tower power guy, and he's in a disco revival band. I've talked about this, but playing some of that stuff, especially on Barry sax, I'm like, oh, playing some like
I'm assuming,
funk.
to like Earth, Wind, and Fire or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
On Barry sax, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm so excited to play that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll see. Yeah, but anyway, if I play my cards right and I can be nice to Rachel and get her to agree, I'm looking to hit my 100 hours by the end of the month, and could theoretically get the Barry sax. So
I would say that you could increase your chances by getting the wood out of the garage before that point.
It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt. But
before you ask her, be like, hey, I got that wood out of the garage. Oh yeah, and I also hit my 100 hours, so got to butter her up a little bit.
She knows. She's she's hearing me.
Yeah, she's hearing it.
She's hearing me do all the practicing, but then but it's at the point now where it's like it sounds nice.
Nice.
She doesn't mind hearing it.
That's an achievement.
And I'm also motivated to like play more songs because I'm like, God, it's got to be so just old to hear.
Yeah, well,
for her to hear me practice the same songs over and over again, So
you've grown your hair out. It's past that awkward phase.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, I got long hair now. I can put it up if I need to.
Put in a little bun if I need to.
There we go.
But yeah, so there you go. So that's it. That's what I've been up to. And then my mental health half day. I don't have a clue what I'm going to do. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll get there. Maybe play some saxophone.
Go camping.
Nope. Definitely won't be doing that.
You get your rope and your hatchets.
Maybe building some shelving so I can get the wood out of the garage for Rachel. Cool. Okay. That's all we got. I got a fun fact and we'll wrap it up. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Leave us some feedback. Ask us some questions. And let us know how things are going in the comments. Also check out gouletpens.com because we have fountain pens, ink, and paper there for sale for you to buy with money. And like and subscribe. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We are active on all these places. I got a random fun fact for you.
Tell me.
I didn't go anything hyper related to anything we talked about today. But I was kind of curious. First, I started out searching for what's the longest letter ever written. I wasn't super clear about that because it wasn't recorded so easily. But I did find a Guinness World Record for the most number of letters written.
By an individual?
Like by an individual to another person. So apparently, Yuichi Noda, former Vice Minister of Treasury and Minister of Construction in Japan, wrote 1,307 letters to his bedridden wife, Mitsu, during his overseas trips from July 1961 until her death in March 1985.
Oh, wow.
These letters have been published in 25 volumes, totaling 12,404 pages and more than 5 million characters.
Wow.
So that guy was devoted.
Yeah.
So Guinness World Record for most number of letters written.
I would love to know what he wrote with.
It's a good question. Well, he said like characters, so I'm imagining like maybe brush pen or some kind of brush thing. I don't know. What do they use? Well, I guess they use fountain pens.
They could have.
Very likely probably a fountain pen then, I would imagine. Maybe some kind of pilot or sailor or platinum because those were all around during that time. There were some cool pens that came out in that time frame, actually. In the 60s and stuff.
Yeah.
I dig 60s fountain pens.
Oh, yeah.
Pilot and Platinum did some good stuff in the 60s.
They did.
Yeah.
A lot of those cool, like, the E95S style of pen has a name.
Yes.
I always forget it. It's like, I can't recall, but it makes sense. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, yeah, of course.
I don't recall what it is, but yeah.
But yeah, they had a lot of those.
Yeah. I have some pens from the 60s of that style where it's like, oh, yeah, you can see where the E95S came from because it's like almost identical. It's timeless. Looks so good. All right. Anyway, that's all we got this week. I will not see you next week, but I'll be a viewer just like you. Should be fun. Anyway, thanks for watching and right on.